to do the full laptop thing, and then I built a desktop and didn't need the power of a full laptop.
Fair enough. Alrighty, so welcome to Doctors and DMs. I am the DM, Morgan Forbush. I am a cultural anthropology master student at UWM, and we'll go down the line to introduce everyone.
Hi, I'm Thomas Malby. I'm professor of anthropology at UWM. I'm playing Jarl the Oak, a dwarven battlemaster fighter.
My next, I don't remember.
Luke.
And
Go,
I'm
Luke.
a cultural anthropology master's student playing Verfa, the dwarf artificer.
I'm Matthew Carricker. I'm an anthropology PhD student, and I'll be playing Balgir Kirkenyi, the male human druid.
Yes, and then I am next because Morgan has already introduced herself. I am Ren. I am an English master's student. I'll be playing Ludvier, the Mystic.
And finally, I'm Mati. I'm a cultural anthropology PhD student, and I play Haya the Barbarian.
Alrighty. Would someone like to perhaps recap what happened last session? I'll give an inspiration.
Ooh, that's an incentive.
We're actually going to use that system that nobody uses.
So I'll try. So we began our session in this little shack that we had identified, this abandoned little place where we had sort of made our way after leaving the capital, and we had been previously split up. So unbeknownst to some party members, several of the party had talked to a witch and tried to gain a bunch of information about different things. But the thing that I remember in particular is that the witch had seen my character's brother, Karl, and Haya's adopted father, Karl. And we just sort of learned that at the beginning of last session. So a lot of last session was spent sort of figuring out what we were going to do about that and where we wanted to go, and deciding to go to the Principality of Jamal. But there's also a lot of work on the puzzle box, right? Trying to figure out what was going on with that and what was inside of it. Eventually, we were able to get it open and discover that there was a sending stone on the inside. But as this was all going on, then we went to bed, and someone was watching, I think it was Luke, and saw people approaching who seemed to be maybe scurrilous members of the order, not upstanding members of the order, if I recall correctly. And one peeked through a window and then backed off when he saw that Luke was awake, something like that. That's as close as that.
I don't know that they yet know that there's anybody in here. Verfa woke Jarl quietly, and we hear some commotion outside, if I remember right.
Right, and I woke Haya up, and we drew our weapons, and I took a position by the door, and and Haya on the other side, I believe, right?
That sounds right.
Yeah. And there was.
However, I will say that it was. It did become apparent that the cabin was Balgir's, this rickety shack he had won, gambling upon the ship that took him from his homeland.
Right, that's right. So we have it, full title, legally.
Yes. And so I think, Balgir, are you still in squirrel form in the walls?
I'm within the walls, yes, that's right, as this encounter is going ahead.
So technically Balgir is still awake.
And I believe Ludvier's awake and had prepped to use coordinated movement to give everybody an additional half of their movement speed if people try to run.
Yes, right. And I was going to go chase after them using that, along with action surge. I could cover a lot of ground. Not as much as Balgir, but a lot.
A decent amount.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
So, DM, can you give us kind of the recap of where the approachers are approaching?
So they are currently running away.
Run away!
Run away! because they've
It's
realized that
because
they've.
Balger is actually a rabbit. That's why they're running away.
That's right,
They're
a hare.
vicious. That's
I
right.
was thinking maybe a squirrel's too small because I did mention when we were in the library that the alcohol in the liver, will grow. So if you go big to small, you get drunker. But if you go small to big, you get
Less drunk.
more sober.
Yeah.
So Balgeir, after a night in his new tavern, after a night in his new tavern, sorry, not his new tavern, his new cottage, his new hut, he's gonna shrink down into the squirrel size, and maybe be a bit dangerous, because he might kill himself as the alcohol completely toxifies the
Oh,
squirrel liver. So a
right.
hare would be more optimum,
And it just occurred to me also that I can use my focus to give Jarl not just an extra half his speed from the PowerPoint thing, but another half of his speed from my reaction. So you can have a whole
Nice.
extra round of speed. next
Wow.
time.
Okay.
Nice.
Oh.
So about how far away have they managed to get?
So there was 3 burglars, correct? I think so, yeah.
That sounds right.
There was one who was looking in the door, and then one person. There were 2 people who were kind of circling. My brain was just like circumnavigating is not the word you're looking for, but circling the thing, and so they were being very loud. The person who was looking in was being more sneaky, but was still seen, and they're all probably at this point like 30 feet away, probably a good like a round of running, so they're probably 30 and 20 between 25 and 30 feet away from the cabin. And
Okay.
Balgir's scuttling after them, and then Verfa commanded a horse to go stop them.
I was thinking about it.
Okay, you were thinking about it. I would
Yeah.
allow that because I think a horse would be smart enough to be like, "Go get that guy,"
All right. Yeah.
or like smart enough
But
to just say like, "Go catch him," or like he would. I think a horse would understand that command.
sure.
I would like
Yeah.
to try and go past them,
Okay.
try and outrun them, transform back into a naked man under the moonlight, and attempt to ambush
They're gonna think you're a werewolf.
them.
So I would also like to get on the far side of them without even using action surge. If I've got 25 from Lud and my own 25, that's 50 feet. And I'd still have my action when I get there, right? So that's what I'd want to do. Yeah. Let me just double check something. Yeah, in fact, I want to get, sorry, 1 second. I just want to get not only past them, if I could actually circle around so that I'm 10 feet in front of them. So if they enter my threat radius with my quarterstaff, I get an opportunity attack. That's what I'd like to do.
Morgan, can we get a blank sheet on the roll 20?
I'll get you a blank sheet.
Yeah, that would be handy.
Don't mind making notes.
Oh, I realized that I was on a page that you guys weren't on. Oops.
So are we each my interpretation of this is that we're each going after one of the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now I have to decide. So as my feat last time, I got Misty Step, which is a level above what I can cast, but I can cast it once in a
Do you
day.
get the Fey?
Yeah, Fey touch.
Thing? Fey touch.
And that's 30 feet. So I'm wondering if I should just, poof and grapple. Or try to. Which might be, but I'm also trying to decide if it's worth saving and just trying the horse situation first. I'll get a lay from the map first, and then I'll decide.
Is that 30 feet? And then you got trees.
Getting some great map work here.
Thank you. So if I could, yeah, my plan is to get around behind them.
Okay.
You know, they're like, are they all together?
There's probably one
Or
that's a
if they
little
go,
bit farther, but there's like two in the back and then one a little bit farther away.
okay.
Can somebody remind me how to plop a token on the thing?
You just go to your journal and just pull. You should just be able to pull.
Grab
like, your-
yourself.
Yeah. Click and drag. There you are.
I can't drag. Oh, pop. Whoa, there's two Fairfas.
Well, because I did that.
That's a before and an after.
Before, after.
I always keep grabbing my the actual visual icon there, but it seems to work better for me when I grab the text. I don't know why.
Yeah, I can't do it from the picture. I don't
I
know
think
if it's
it
a
might
Chrome
because
thing
it's
or...
like if you just click it. Actually, I have no idea. I don't know why. Maybe you have more space to have it register that you're clicking and dragging.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Do we have a little horse icon?
Um,
Sorry. I guess we don't need it.
let's see.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just gonna like Balger with a B here.
Did you say that we recognized one of the voices as ooh, look at that.
Look, horse.
The horse, nice.
Of course. As somebody? Xavier or somebody?
Yes.
Or was it just
It was one of the people. It was one of the dudes that was in. Let me grab his picture.
or it was something that they were saying that maybe it was something they were saying cued us into that they were from the order, but that we decided that they weren't them?
Yeah, I think he was kind of wearing similar garb to this guy, as I
Okay.
have to stretch him out because grid. This guy, as you can see, he's kind of dressed
All right.
like
So
this guy.
by my
That does
count,
count.
Morgan, I am going to action surge. It doesn't seem realistic to me that I could do this without action surging, even with the 25 feet from Lud. So
Okay.
to get 75, I'm going to spend my action surge, and that will allow me to get, if you're okay, me moving myself right now,
Mm-hmm.
I could get to the far guy right here, and he's still 10 feet away from me, right? Not 5, if I put him there.
Yeah, but let's get Bulgarian here. Bulgarian.
Yeah.
Because you're on
I'll
B,
put
right?
myself here with the
There
B.
you go.
Yeah. Cool.
There he is.
Oh, you're going to that guy? Okay. Well, I could go to a different guy and not spend my action surge if you can get to the
Well,
far guy.
mm,
If I see you
okay.
racing past me, I probably
Let's go. Let's go.
wouldn't go that far, in which case here I save my action surge if I go to these guys.
That's right. You see me transform even in
Mm-hmm.
the shadows
Right.
beside you, you know.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, all right, he can get the lead guy. I'm going to make sure I get one of these guys here.
Yeah. And I will since I don't need to use it yet with the extra movement, I will get whoever's closest. So maybe this guy. And I'll just sprint as fast as my little dwarf legs will take me.
Yeah,
And
I will do the same. You just
Mm-hmm.
go to the closest one.
Alrighty.
But knowing that the horse is handy and can handle at least some basic commands is good to know.
Once this round is over, on like the next round, I have something I want to get up and do, but I'm tapped for this round.
Okay. You just kind of like were like, go.
Technically, I just moved to this guy, right?
Yeah. Do you want
I have,
to grapple?
I still have like, yeah.
Okay. So we'll do that in a moment. Let me get up. Oh, that's why I get rid of that.
So do we have surprise? Because they didn't know we were in here.
Oh yeah, you'll have advantage on grappling.
Excellent. You read my mind.
All right. Oh, look, a wizard.
Well, I suppose it's not very stealthy.
You,
Sprinting is a
I mean, it's more of just the shock of, hey, someone's running at me. Oh, someone's tackling me.
sure.
So
Sure.
yeah. Rich me. Okay, cool. There we go. I have a deck save. Okay, cool. That's what I needed. Alrighty. So you guys are attempting to grapple and do things.
Well-
Are you tripping or what are we doing?
I'm gonna trip.
Okay. Cool.
I'm gonna grapple.
I'm gonna intimidate. Am I included here?
Sure.
I guess
yeah,
that's
yeah.
the only thing. I have a -2 on intimidation.
Well, how about this? So if Haya is taking the number 2,
Mm-hmm.
I could trip the lead guy from where I am if Verifa can do something to CC number 3.
CC number 2.
Is this happening at the same time as the movement is happening, or is this happening after we've moved?
Same turn.
Same turn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, same
I'm trying to
turn.
follow turn order here since we don't have initiative going on. You know?
Yeah.
Because I can do something to remain the furthest guy from my current position, but it has to be on the next turn.
Yes.
Okay, then maybe what I would do is, if we're gonna go, I bet we'll get into initiative in a second, but I'd probably choose to hold my action and trip anyone that either Verifa or Haya doesn't succeed in CCing.
Okay. And you're just kind of assuming that one will be stopped.
Well, yeah, I guess one, there's fewer options on one. Maybe I should be
guess-
tripping one.
The other thing is, I mean, I'm wondering if we should just if we should both try to run ahead of 2 and 3 and just stretch a rope. But
Well, I can really get to either 2 or 3. I mean, if they just try to move toward me, they're toast, right?
Right.
I've got maneuvers. So to me, the big question is 1. What's the best strategy for 1? I think, Lud, maybe you should focus on 1 with Balgar if you've got something you can do for them.
As long as I'm within 60 feet, absolutely, I can do something.
All right, let's do that. Let's do that. So the 3 marshals here, well, Verifa and Haya and I will take care of 2 and 3, and Balgar and Lud will take care of 1.
That's the plan.
Which
All
makes
right.
sense because Balgar and
Yep.
Lud are old friends. They've got their ways of
Yeah,
operating.
Lud's got my back. He knows I'm pulling this crazy midnight stuff.
Right, right.
You're like, where would Balgar be? Probably as a squirrel in the front of the pack.
Whereas I've seen you just fly past me like, oh, okay, I guess he's got that guy taken care of, and I turn back to 2 and 3.
You just see
That's
like a little
right.
badger running past
Right.
you. Alrighty, so let's get some rolls going.
Or initiative.
For initiative. Or not really initiative, you can just do roll me grappling. Because if you guys
Oh,
incapacitate them all by grappling them, then you
Yeah.
know, we don't need to do initiative. So-
okay, that's cool.
and you said with advantage.
Yes, you all are getting with advantage because you just are running at these people full sprint and tackling.
Yeah, so why don't Balgar, Verifa, and Haya go first, and then I will go and Lud go. Is everybody
So
okay with that?
grappling is athletics or acrobatics, right?
Yep.
Yeah, athletics or acrobatics,
Contested.
and then I do.
We get to pick.
Yes, whichever one is
Yeah.
higher, and I think they get to also pick athletics or acrobatics.
Yep.
I'll just roll that too.
25.
Then.
So I rolled a 19 with acrobatics. It's 22.
Alrighty.
Raw roll for me, 13.
Okay.
Middling, 13.
Roll with advantage.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So this guy's grappled.
Which one?
2 is grappled.
Okay.
I'll just kind of do a little square. So 2 is grappled. You got 22 for Haya. And
23.
23.
25.
No, not Haya. Verfa. Sorry.
Perfect. 22. Yeah.
22. And he will also be grappled. These guys are just like mages, you know, snooping about. You know, they don't know. They're not good at evading grapples. And then 1. So you got a 13 for that one. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What is Ren doing? Are you?
Yeah, Lud, what's going on?
Or Lud had a plan?
Yeah, he was gonna do something. Help me out.
I will stand
How's
up,
my
walk
age?
over to the door. Am I within 60 feet of a one there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I need to make a strength saving throw right now.
Okay. So strength saving throw. He rolled a 9.
He rolled a 9. Okay, the score to beat is 15, so that's not going to happen for him that day. And a giant, an ogre-sized invisible hand will just rend him right there and hold him in place. And so now for 1 minute I can hold him like this with my telekinetic powers.
Sweet.
And so that's awesome. If they're all controlled, I have a question. Can I tell which one would be the leader of this group?
It looks like since probably one, because he was the one that was peeking through the window. You kind of recognize him, like you've been sitting back and kind of getting a look at him.
Okay.
He's the one that's probably the leader because he was by the window and the one that, booked it before everyone else. So you're like, he's probably
All
the
right.
leader because he's self.
I want to step forward with my quarterstaff, whack him non-lethally, and make a menacing attack so that he's frightened if he fails.
Okay.
So let me roll that.
While that's going on, I'll use my bonus action to prep some magic stones.
And this is with advantage, right?
Yeah. Because he's currently held. So
All
you
right.
get
That's a
advantage.
17 to hit.
Okay.
And then the menacing attack. Let me roll my d8 for that. They need to make a wisdom saving throw DC 15.
All right. A wisdom saving throw of DC 15.
Ooh, excuse me.
They got 12, so they have failed. So they are frightened.
They are frightened. Now, can I do the damage I'm doing if I'm trying not to kill him, right? Between the two die, I just rolled 3 points plus 5, so that's 8 points of damage. But I wouldn't want it to kill him.
Okay. I wouldn't kill him anyway. You would just give him a nice,
All right, good.
a nice whack on the head. All right. Oh, that's Eberron. Okay. There you go. I'm looking at different creatures, just things. All right.
He can roll to escape, by the way. I just have to roll a contested check against him, and I'll just call out while this is happening. I've only got him for a minute, so you might want to find something more stable for this.
If he's frightened, so he's gonna, until the end of his next turn, he has disadvantage on his ability checks and attack rolls while he can see me, and he can't move closer to me. And my next opportunity, I want to make a intimidation check to try and get him to tell us everything, basically, while he's frightened and spill.
All right. Get it better.
Algier, do you have any rope?
Good question. Well, I am naked, unfortunately.
Right. Okay.
Cannot take inventory items with me whilst I'm transporting.
Right. So now I'm wondering if, as hearing Lud holler that you need a way to restrain him for a minute, if I could toss you a thing of rope. But I think my turn is over. So
Good.
Yeah. Well, they're all incapacitated. So if the person
isn't this guy only incapacitated because you're actively grappling him?
Right.
Yeah. So what Balgir can come over and do is just grab the rope from like a pocket or your pack or something, if he wanted to, because he's not
Balgir will
grappling.
walk around the mystical hand, cackling. He can't believe what's going on. Fuck it, man! Look, walks over, finds some rope. Lud's yelling, "You've only got 1 minute," and Balgir's like, yeah. Takes the rope and will bite number 1.
All right. And then
I'm also.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, that's all right.
No, go ahead. What were you saying?
I was just gonna say to Haya and Verfa, get behind them. In other words, grapple them from behind, because if they escape, they have to step toward me, and then I get to attack them again.
Very good.
Do you want him moved so that he's on the other side of you? I can move him.
No. He's good right there. He's good right there. I mean, if Balgir, it's fine. It's fine the way it is. I was just thinking about for Haya and Verifa, if their tokens are more, can I ping this? How do I ping?
You just click and hold.
You want me like, yeah?
Yeah, on sort of on the far side from me. Then they'll, if they were to escape, they'd enter my. I could make an opportunity attack.
How tall is number 3?
How tall
Number
is
2
number
is
3?
here.
Yeah.
Like technically, Haya is on top of them.
He's probably
Haya, if you move-
average human height, so like 5'7".
Here?
No,
Yeah,
down
5'6".
here, Haya. You see that?
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you say? Sorry, 5'5".
5'5", 5'6", like average height of a medieval person.
Forget how short I am. I'm pretty short.
Dwarves
in-
are like upwards of like 4.5 feet, 4 feet. They're short, but they're not like really short. They're still dwarves, but
Yeah. Why can't I find it? Where is that?
Where's the height of dwarves? It's in the player's handbook or under the dwarven race and
I was
racial
looking
features.
I was looking for mine in particular in
Oh, I see.
D&D Beyond. Whatever.
Oh,
I'm gonna.
That'll be
doesn't
again. You have to click. I think. Yeah. I think you have to click on the racial traits. I can't remember, but
Anyway, we keep going.
yeah. So like
It doesn't
5'6",
matter how I'm
okay.
holding it.
5'7". I feel like you might just have like your arms, like you kind of just ran up and just wrapped your arms around his waist and just went like, nope, and dug your heels in.
Yeah, I've got some, arm braces, so maybe I, can hook into them.
Yeah,
Hook them together.
Hook them together, dig your heels in, and going like, you ain't going nowhere. And he's just like small twig mage, so he's just like, I can't escape this.
Steady as a rock.
Yeah, because you are a rock.
Yeah, for all you know.
Height is under the description tag. I will say for like 3.5 had some really great like racial renderings because they showed everything in relation to each other, like the different heights. 5th edition doesn't really do that.
yeah, I like those things. Why?
Yeah.
That should be in every basic rule book of any RPG with different races.
Yeah, 3.5 really was a like very descriptive in pictures and such. Whereas 5th edition is like, make your own.
It's a shame some of those pictures were of varying quality.
Oh yeah, well, 5e does that too. 5th edition has a lot of good stuff, but 5th edition also like recycles a lot of like magic art for its magic books, and I'm like, just make some new art for your magic books, man.
I'm gonna put this in our chat. This is my favorite D&D 3.5 art of all time ever.
We're getting
So
off topic.
I'm going to take this chance now. I assume that it's come back around, and I can, swing my quarterstaff toward the throat of number 1, stopping just the end. This is, now's your chance. Tell us everything, or we'll take you back to the shack and kill you.
Alrighty.
And I want to do a intimidation check with that.
Okay, you do intimidation check, and he will have a disadvantage, so you're just rolling straight. So.
Right, and I'm going to use one of my maneuvers to do the I'm on the wrong person. The commanding presence thing. So I'm going to use a maneuver, so that will give me a superiority die. Do I have advantage on this intimidation check? No, he just has disadvantage.
He has disadvantage,
right?
so you pretty much.
I would think if nothing else, though, since we're holding them, we could help by, tightening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can burn a psi point and non-lethal constrict him, deal 1d6 bludgeoning damage.
Okay.
All right. If that gives me advantage, plus my intimidation die is 5, 17, 19 on that intimidation check.
19. Yeah, he definitely fails. So I'm trying to think because my brain is trying to think of what they were talking about beforehand. They were talking about like getting the box,
Well,
or were they looking for the box, or were they looking for the tablet? Does anyone remember? I think they were looking for the box.
They were looking.
Or were they looking for the tablet?
Should I roll that non-lethal?
We are aware that they are looking for the tablet,
The tablet.
but whether or not they're also looking for the box.
Okay. I just couldn't, like, I was looking, I was like, I don't know actually what they were talking about, because I know you had heard them. I was like, I'm just pretty sure they're talking about the tablet. So he kind of goes like, we're just, you know, we're protecting the plane. We're looking for that tablet that you guys lost, and we just want to know, you might not have the tablet, but you gave us a rubbing, and we wanted to see if you had a rubbing, just make sure everything, we had all the information and stuff. The order is, the order isn't your enemies. We're just trying to help. We're just trying to save this plane here. It's just.
Do I think he's telling the truth?
Um.
Can I make an insight
Yeah,
check?
you can roll an insight check on that. You can tell he's quite intimidated. So.
Yeah. I got an 11 on that.
11. You can tell that he is Yeah, you can tell that he pretty much he's thinking he's telling the truth from what you can tell.
Seems sincere.
There's no obvious tells of he's trying to hide something or something. He seems like he's telling the truth.
I'll say to everybody else, sounds like he might mean it.
How are 2 and 3 reacting to what 1 is saying?
I feel like one of them is like, dude, you don't just give up that easily. And the other one's like, I mean, like these guys, these guys, they said that they outmaneuvered Xavier, and they must be pretty smart. Like one of them is scared, and one of them is just like, dude, you just gave him the whole beans. You just spilled all of them. Like what the hell? Well, one of them is kind of like scared relatively of you guys. Like, oh, these guys, we shouldn't mess with these guys. Like I told you, we shouldn't come
Are they
here.
muttering things to this effect, basically?
Kind of, yeah. Not very loudly. Like 2's definitely shouting at 1, like, hey. You don't need to tell them everything. And 3 is just kind of like, these guys are scary, man. I wanna head out. Like I told you we shouldn't come out here. Like.
All right, good,
Good. So yeah, so that would suggest to me that they are non-malicious at least at the present moment. Right?
Mm-hmm. Or they have non-malicious intent. Whether they actually were going to kill you, you don't know.
That's true. Okay. So, what do you think, Jarl? Drag him to the cabin?
Yeah, it's the right thing to do.
So we're going to try to do that.
Alrighty. How many people have? Because like you can tie up 1, and you can probably. I mean, you guys have like 50. I always presume you guys have like 50 feet of hemp and rope.
I think I have like 3 things of 50 feet of rope. I got a lot of rope. I don't know
50
why.
50 feet of rope.
Yeah.
Purpose like, here, have some rope. You're like one of those clowns that are like constantly pulling it out of his
I'm lousy
pocket.
with rope. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it was because Kamiko and I, snatched some off a ship on the way over or what it was, but yeah, I got tons of rope.
Both have rope because you need rope in the Underdark. You don't go anywhere without rope.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because of my rock affinity. I like to climb,
Maybe. Maybe you just have like grappling hooks to climb buildings.
So, we got the rope if we need the rope.
All right. So you can tie him up and take him back to the cabin. Alrighty.
Yep. Dragging slowly.
Or you can more just like 3 will probably go a little bit quieter. Just be like, yeah, sure, I'll follow you, whatever. Maybe just tying up their hands. Tying up their hands is enough. They'll just be like,
tying up their hands is the main thing because of all of that casty stuff you disreputable types do.
Alrighty, so they're in the cabin now. Kind of get dragged back. They're put on the floor. They're kind of looking around. You can still see that like 1 and 2 are trying to catch glances of pockets or things that are sitting on tables, or like you have one table and they're like looking at the table, like kind of glancing at like your flour sacks, your sacks of grain, like looking at your packs and trying to see if they can see anything of usefulness, get any clues maybe to what they're trying to find.
And this probably goes without saying, but in order to move the guy, my hand is going to have to dissipate unless
Yeah.
they want me to burn all my psi points to move him, and because
No.
it costs me 1 psi point per 5 feet of move.
They probably just tied up his hands and went, okay, you're coming with me,
Yeah.
so you could just like
I'll let him
dissipate it.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna worry. I saw
And I'm
Fart
gonna-
dumplings. Oh, cat.
That hand is such a nifty little thing that I almost never use.
Hey, it really worked in this situation.
Yeah, Mastery of Force is an incredible discipline.
If you used it right, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, Mastery of Force has inertial armor, which is like 100% necessary for this character. So I was gonna have to take it either way, but like, man, some of these other abilities I'm loving.
I'm loving it.
I have to send something before I forget, so I'm gonna send it quickly. So you can see they're kind of looking around, seeing things, trying to catch glimpses. You kind of get them sat down in a corner or whatever. And what would you like to do?
Jarl.
Yeah, that's a
Jarl's
Jarl
typing.
question.
Well, Thomas is typing.
So it's up to us.
Back in the shack, Jarl takes a load off, short rest. If we use an hour.
I'm off mic for just
All
a minute. Okay.
Balger returns. Did he, or does he? Did he find any while you patrol for?
Okay.
Walk around the perimeter.
This moment for the more clever among us.
Actually,
you
I
both
guess
can
Lumiere
kind
will
of
just
walk around and give an idea of
That's fine.
the situation and all that kind of stuff. See if they drop anything.
And while they're doing that, Lumiere will just walk up and be like, "So you three came alone? Just you three?"
One kind of like nods and goes, "Yeah, it's just us three. You know the only." My brain just died. So like one just goes like, "Yeah, it's just us three. You know, small crew, small cabin. You know, we've been following you since you went to that witch. So."
Hmm.
What is the reason that you are following us?
Well, I guess it's for the same reason why you went to the witch. I mean, you guys. I mean, it's kind of suspicious.
I'm gonna slap him
You
as
slap.
he barely talks.
He goes, "What?
Like, I want direct answers. What are you following? Why are you following us?
Well, you see, the tablet was
I
lost."
don't see anything. I'm not hearing you talk.
He's got a lot of talk, dude. He's like, you guys got let go from the castle, but that was, after the tablet got stolen or whatever disappeared. And, we thought that the orders, or maybe not we, but Xavier and, the coalition in the area thought that it was, would be prudent to follow you guys to see if it was revealed that you had the tablet. I mean, you gave us a rubbing, which is appreciated, but we would like the original tablet. And we just wanted to make sure. And
So let me recap what happened. We went to the castle.
Mhm.
Apparently, we stole the tablet, and we were let go from the castle. And you thought a group of people who can steal a tablet and get away with it, you would be able to steal something from us.
Well, we didn't think that we would be the ones doing the stealing just to see if you had it. I was
Well,
I was there when
so
we brought the
here,
prince to the castle, but I'm just a lowly scribe. I don't do the actual, attacking or defending or whatever.
I'd like to roll an insight check on that, if that's okay.
Sure.
Just to see if he's being truthful or if he's downplaying his role in all of this.
Okay.
And since I'm using Auracite, I have advantage on it.
All right.
So I'll just roll 2. Well, advanced roll's a pain in the butt. I'll just roll
Fearful
twice.
will
All right,
type
so
in. Sorry.
that is a 21.
21. What were you saying, Luke?
I was going to say, sort of out of sequence, Fearful will say, "What are your names?"
You're the one character that's like, what are these NPCs' names? And the DM goes, all right, let me go get a fantasy name generator.
Yeah. Wana, Tua, and Thria.
Wana, Tua, and Tria. 3's Tracy. Oh,
There
my
you go.
cat. Oh, look at her.
If it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter.
So one kind of says, oh, my name's my name's Jacob. 2 doesn't give you his name. He kind of just stays silent. And then 3's like, well, my name is Richard, but some people call me Rick. So 2 seems to be the defiant one. I always
what's
just
your
go,
name?
oh, to 2.
Yeah.
Goes, I mean, it doesn't really matter. If you're gonna kill us, you're gonna kill us.
What's your name? I think dying would be the best thing that would happen to you tonight.
Oh, your ages are weird. And 2 goes, well, I mean, if it matters, my name's Robert. And it's not like you're gonna do anything with that. Insight, but your insight of 21, so you're kind of looking at these guys. One seems to be, he might be downplaying the whole group's power level. Like, he himself seems like he's like, I can't fight. And 3 seems like that, but 2 seems like he might like overall he might be saying like, oh, we can't do anything, but you can kind of see through the like, what, like, I feel like 1 or 2 of you might actually have some skill, but 1 definitely, the leader, Jacob, definitely doesn't have any powers.
Okay.
He's scared shitless right now. He's like, I was just told to go look at something.
I'll telepathic contact with Haya, and I'll say to Haya very quickly. So the leader isn't that much of a threat, but his henchmen, those guys might be a problem. I've got a little bit of a gambit if you want to help me out.
Who's the other person that you're referring to?
The other 2, not Robert, but the other 2.
No, Jacob is the leader.
Oh, Jacob, sorry. Jacob, not
Jacob
Jacob,
is
but Robert.
Jacob. Robert.
Also
I think tonight we are going to send a message to the order.
But do you want to, like, maybe they'd be a little bit more cooperative if they thought that we were more of a threat?
The content of the message depends on all of us.
So not hearing this psychic conversation, Fearful will turn to Jarl and say, we need to know where they get their orders.
And I guess I'll just capitalize on that, and Luvir will walk up and go, well, haven't you heard of the arcane art of name magic? And crack his knuckles.
Name
I've
magic?
heard you can kill a man with just their name, and I'm going to stare Jacob dead in the eye, pull my glasses down.
And not picking up on what's happening, Fearful will say, well, I'm glad I asked.
Are you trying to intimidate him, or are you like casting a spell?
Oh, I'm like, I was thinking in deception, but Because
Okay.
there's no fucking such thing as far as Lumiere knows. Lumiere's just
All right, roll me.
trying
Yeah, okay,
shit.
deception.
does
Do you
does
know the
Verfa's-
kung fu style of praying mantis?
does Verfa's like just immediate belief of this give me like any kind of help?
No.
Okay. That's an 8, baby.
Is he still frightened of Jarl at this point? Or is that just till his next turn that he's frightened? Or it's whenever he snaps out of it?
That was just to the end of his next turn. So
End of his
not
next turn. Okay.
not magically or whatever frightened now.
All right. Oh my god. Apparently he just doesn't want to roll well. So he's just kind of like looking at you like, I mean, I've never heard of the
What?
fist of names or magic of names. I just I don't know. I've never heard of that. Like he's not like 100% like in deep, but he's like, oh, I mean, what is this order
At
of
this
the name
point,
or whatever? Like he's like, ooh.
at this point, Jarl gets back up and gives a nod to Balgir's outside. Is that right? Gives a nod to Haya and grabs Robert by the scruff of his collar, motions to Haya to do the same, and we're just going to drag the two of them out of the shack so that it's just Jacob talking to anyone who's going. And then I have a feeling Jacob's going to be a lot more forthcoming without the other two around. So we're just going to drag those two out. Like, who knows what we're going to be doing with them outside? You down with that, Haya?
I plan for them as well. I have a poison that I've been wanting to use for a while.
Ah, okay.
Oh my god. The name magic. We know their names, and now they will be poisoned.
Is that the thing like with Voldemort? Like you're not supposed to say his name because it gets him.
There's
power or
like a
something?
bunch of magic
still
systems that like are all about naming, but this, to my knowledge, unless there's some weird thing in D&D 5e I don't know about, none of them exist in 5e.
It's often that spellcasters won't reveal their true name for the power that it holds if it could be known.
All right.
I
Which
think it
is why
still
sometimes
affects.
spellcasters go by nom de plumes.
Oh
those
yeah,
wizard names.
just demons. Yeah.
Syntaxius, the grammar witch, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought there might be one with something with demons still embedded in the system, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
All right. Oh my god. This thing
Yeah.
does not want to work. Okay. So you pull Robert and Richard out, and so you have Jacob hanging out with y'all, or Jakob, if you want to use a more primitive pronunciation.
So now Lud and Verifa can lean on Jacob now and see what you get.
So I think Verfa's not knowing that name magic is not a thing is going to ultimately help Lud, because now Verfa is curious about this other type of magic that he's not familiar with. And so he's gonna be asking questions that's gonna open the door for Lud to like provide really threatening answers, right? So
it's the
If
dumbest
Balgir
thing.
could return and take in the scene, then he'll go up to well, he could aid this by casting Charm Person
Okay.
on Jakob.
Oh boy.
So what is your end goal with this? Are you trying to figure out who gives him orders, or are you trying to just be like, hey, we're really scary, tell the order to leave us alone, or?
I think we're trying to figure out who, because my understanding from Haya is Haya wants to be able to tell these people, go back to the order, tell them X, and know for sure that they're actually going to do that. So I'm trying to invent some reason that they would have to, like, essentially behave.
Okay.
So Jakob has to make a wisdom saving throw with advantage since we are fighting them. Since we were fighting them.
With disadvantage or with what?
With advantage. So they get an advantage because we're adversarial.
Okay.
You know. So if it was just some random in the street, I infer from
what's the DC
everything
to attack? What's the DC to hit?
So it just says a wisdom saving throw on the humanoid. So
if it's
oh,
if it's a spell.
Oh, attack save wisdom 11. It says. So would that be you get over 11, and you get advantage?
Should be your spell save DC is the value.
Yeah. So if like at the top of your spell discussion, it'll say spell save DC. Wow, my
Spell
chat
save
just
DC.
loves to freak out.
Spell save. Oh yeah, 11.
11.
It's
Okay.
11.
So they rolled over that, so they are not charmed.
They don't need to be charmed.
But it'd be funny if they were charmed.
Are you talking about Jakob or Robert and Richard?
Jakob.
Louvier will pull the dagger out from the palace and say, "If I whisper your name into this dagger and pierce even the slightest bit of skin, you will die in a few days from cancer, I've been told. Or I could mix the whisper of your name into that chamber pot over there, still rusty from our last spell, which involved dumplings. And should I eat one of those dumplings, you would die instantly.
And
it peers into your very soul, name magic."
Fairfoe with a mouthful of dumplings will say, "Oops."
Roll me another deception, I guess.
Oh, okay, come on, baby. That's a 5.
Oh my gosh. I don't. Why do I keep rolling with? I don't stop rolling that much. Yeah, he did. He does not. He's not buying it. He gives you kind of this look at you. Look like. I mean, isn't that the dagger that the prince had when we brought him back?
A similar dagger, perhaps, but made in a foreign land. I promise you. Do I look like a liar?
Kind of.
Well, that's a grave insult. Perhaps I'll have to now, and then I'm going to use one of my PowerPoints to make the dagger glow that ethereal purple and whisper his name into the blade. That, just means I'm using my ethereal weapon ability.
Okay. Does it make it look special? Or
yeah, and then it passes through armor. It's not going to kill him in one hit.
Okay, so is he rolling to something, or is?
I mean, it's up to you. I'm not trying to hit him with it. I'm just making him think that I'm prepping the dagger to.
Okay.
You're just making it look more magical than it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Here, I will give you another roll against your 8. He still does not.
Yeah, baby.
He still does not.
Yes.
Oh my god, chat, what are you doing? Okay. Oh, I was just gonna roll against your 8, but that's fine. So, okay, he believes that you guys are scary. Like, well, I don't. I'm still confused. Oh.
And has Haya come back into the room by now?
I think we are chatting just like in a place and like nobody else is hearing them.
So are you or are you not in the vicinity of what's going on?
We are still talking.
I see. Okay, gotcha.
So Yeah. So, I've blindfolded these guys, laid them down on their stomachs. I'm sitting on their backs with on top of my quarterstaff across them. And Haya and I are just complaining about this. Like, this order prides itself on kind of having some wisdom, and they're treating us like shit. They're disrespecting us at every turn, and we're pretty sick of it. And we're about ready to cut somebody's head off and send it back to the order as a message, although we'd really rather not.
Oh,
And how
Haya prefers to do it.
Yeah,
He's done with
Haya
this.
prefers to do it. I'm kind of good copping to his bad cop and saying, well, we really would rather not do that. I mean, it is the natural next step. I grant you that, and we're basically having a casual conversation here that will or will not scare the shit out of these two guys. And whether we ever break through the weaseliness that seems to pervade this continent, we'll see. But that's basically what we're talking. We're talking about it casually. Just in front of them, as if, in the next moment, one or the other of them could be dead.
I will lean in and tell him, I will be right behind you, just out of sight. And if you make one misstep, that'll be the end. And that you can take to the grave. Now, my friend is going to come back in here, and you're going to give him everything that he wants. And if you don't do that, well, this is just one kind of magic I have to kill you. I haven't shown you number 2 through 2000. I'm Randolph, the most deadly wizard in the world. And now I'm just going to sit behind him.
Okay. Okay, so all right. He's, he just kind of shuts up because he's like, okay, well, okay, I'm either gonna die or I'm just gonna. Would you like to ask him a question, or
I'm gonna
would you like
telepathic
to
contact to
or would you like
verify.
to kill him, or like you've sufficiently
Giving him a good spook.
you've spooked him. He believes you. He's like, hey, order of magic is scary. Like,
I'm gonna just telepathic contact to verify and say, yeah, okay, just let Haya back in whenever Haya wants to ask questions. I think we're good here.
And
just
then,
give him a smile.
yeah, Fairfoe waving back in through the window.
I'll give a
Haya
nod.
will walk in.
Yeah. The huge barbarian, charismatic barbarian.
Before he steps in, he's gonna do something dumb. He's gonna turn himself into, what was their leader? Xavier?
yeah.
Javier.
Yeah.
And I will take Yao with me, and I will pretend like we're caught on the business
Can we
and so on.
can we trade places? Can somebody come back outside and sit on these guys or something?
I can do that.
Balgir will. No problem. He'll
Oh.
stump, sit
All right.
down,
All
bare
right.
buttocks on the prisoners.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, and I'll follow behind Haya with my arms, folded, and give help to anything he tries to do.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
I don't know what are we going to do with this, but we're gonna do something with it. If not,
Wait, so-
we're just gonna kill them.
Are you?
I don't have a plan.
Are you?
I don't have a plan.
I thought you had a plan. That was
Is the
whole
idea-
thing.
Haya, is the idea that you are Xavier coming, like you arrived behind them or are you just looking like him for fun?
I sometimes hate playing D&D. You have to plan things, and I don't love planning things. So,
If you want to, if I do not mind if you say, "Oh, I'm not going to turn into Xavier." That sounds like that was a great plan, but also probably maybe not a great plan. I don't know. So it doesn't matter.
yeah,
if you
we'll
walk back
just
on it.
we'll just go. I'll just go as Haya.
Okay.
And
I'll.
let's, find out, who's giving these orders.
Yeah.
I'll say to Haya as we're walking in, we need to find out who's telling them to do this.
Yep, sounds good. I will sit on the floor, look the guy in the eyes, and say, I ask, you answer plainly and quickly.
Okay.
And when he says that, I'm going to bring out my quarterstaff and I'm going to put it against his throat and say, that means no weaseling. No hemming and hawing. None of that stuff. I'm so sick of it, I can't even tell you.
Well,
Think before you talk.
I
Don't make the... No. I didn't ask you a question. You're not talking yet. Good. So, who sent you here? The order is not a good answer. Give me detailed answer.
Well, I mean, it is the it is the order.
Wrong
I mean,
answer.
it is
You lose a foot.
Well, I mean, they're kind of broken up into regions and districts. The one that is in this area is the district of Zila because it's based around the Zila capital area. But it's like half a
You're now
Treshire.
stating... You're stating the facts. This is not an answer. Who gave you the order to come here? Not which institution, not which branch of things. I'm asking who. Give me a person's name.
Well, I
Wrong
already
answer,
told
you
you
lose
that
a foot.
we were told by Xavier to follow you guys. He didn't really
Where?
tell us to, come at night to the cabin, but we wanted to be thorough.
Where
Can
is he
you...
now? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Can you tell me what was order that was given to you, word by word?
We were told to see if you had the tablet, and if you did to report back. I think Robert wanted to take back the tablet, but that wasn't the order. Exactly.
When you say take back, you have to own something to take it back.
Yes. Yeah.
So, does the tablet belong to you or the Sultan?
Well, Xavier is of the opinion that the tablet should be a part belongs
Wrong
with
answer.
the order. So
Wrong answer.
it,
Should and is different.
He's only got 2 feet. What do we do?
We go finger by finger.
well, Xavier's orders came from the understanding that the tablet belongs to the order.
Okay.
So taking back is taking back for the order.
Now, what's this about the end of the world?
What do you mean?
I'm going to wrap him with my quarterstaff. You said that word. You said the end of the world before. So, infuriating. I'm going to sort of put his hand flat on the ground, set the end of my quarterstaff on it, and lean on my quarterstaff hard. What do you know about the tablet and the end of the world?
All I know is that Xavier said something about the tablet, that it was for it was important to get out of evil hands so that it couldn't be used for the end of the world.
So in an attempt to stay level-headed, Fairfa is going to turn his back and light one of his cigars and sort of pace by the window, because he's hearing this and he's equally frustrated, I think, that we're not getting solid answers.
And all of this in the context of you yourselves being hoodwinked by someone pretending to be one of you in the order, paying some gullible low-ranking member of the order to help him, all to steal the tablet, and you come to us sneaking and spying on us as if you're the organization that has its shit together. You don't have your shit together. We're the closest thing to anyone competent that I've encountered, and Xavier doesn't seem to have realized that yet. So this is how Xavier approaches us. This is how Xavier deals with us. Y'all are not worthy of the charge you've given yourselves.
Well,
It's idiotic.
it is just a precaution.
It's amateur hour, is what it is. Amateur hour.
We're not a combat order. We just seek knowledge and save it from the wrong hands.
yeah, that would never involve any combat or anything dangerous or any subtle thinking or figuring out who to trust whatsoever. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Man, how far up do we have to go in this organization not to find an idiot?
And Fairfa will whirl around, and as he shouts,
dramatically, with
smoke just flies out, like as much smoke as air comes out of every orifice as he yells, "By Scoreus, what the hell does the tablet do?"
Jacob kind of looks at you and like is very astonished. He's like, I presume it is a spell tablet. I saw the
We know that.
but Xavier took the
Wrong answer. Give me your hand. Give me your hand.
Do you take his hand?
Yeah.
Well, it's currently tied up, so I guess you have both of his hands.
Cool. You have to find a new profession, though. I don't imagine you can scribe.
He's like, I don't know what you want. We haven't translated the rubbing you've gotten us. We couldn't see the tablet before.
All right, so I'm just going to stop Haya, and I'm going to say to him and Verfa and Lud, everyone in the room right now, is it possible that this order is so dysfunctional that the people they send on these delicate operations where the fate of the world hangs in the balance are essentially stupid or at least deeply ignorant of the things they ought to know to be able to exercise any judgment on these missions? Is it possible the order is just that dysfunctional rather than him holding something back? Is it possible we've got this is everything?
I'm beginning to think these are constructs
rather than actual human beings.
Yes.
I mean, I've never seen the order do anything good.
I'm gonna turn to the guy.
Actually, come to think of it, I've only seen them ever fail.
You've only seen them like do two things.
Oh, no, we have a little bit more of a history with them.
Oh yeah, but like at this point,
yeah,
has only seen them do two things.
They're more of a disorder than an order. Yeah.
Okay.
We could simply go with them and just walk right in, figure it out from the higher ups.
I'm gonna say to the guy, Jacob, to sing loudly, and I've lost the party too. come out with me for a second.
So step outside the shack with you, Hi.
Yeah, you sing. Sing
So-
loud.
I mean, I
So
could
that
just
we
stay
hear him
here with
singing while we're outside.
Yeah.
I trust you guys to make decisions. I can stay here and make sure he doesn't do anything.
No, I think he should sing. Regardless.
Okay.
I mean, he could, sure, audience of one and all that.
Yeah.
Eh.
Maybe he starts
It's a nice
to
addition to your night.
I don't know. I guess he just kind of starts to just more talk sing a bar shanty song or something.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, that's
So, and I'm gonna whisper this. So, I think what can do here is that we show him the tablet, he translates, and we kill these people all, and we go find our business, because our thing with the order is the fact that we want this to be translated, right? If he can translate, he does it, and we kill him. We go do our thing.
Oh, if he's smart enough to translate it.
Would I hear this from my position, or is this too quiet for?
you could.
Yeah, he's singing and I'm whispering. I don't think you would hear
Okay.
it.
All right. Cool.
Okay.
Okay.
I presume Balgar is there and stuff. So like.
I mean, we have other questions we could ask him. We could ask him, how does he get in touch with Xavier, right? When was he next supposed to report in? Where would that be? All these other things, so that we could actually deal with someone who knows, has more than two thoughts in their head.
Well, what illithid ran off with your real brain?
What are
Yeah.
we hoping to
101
get?
questions we could ask.
What are we hoping to get from a conversation with Xavier?
Well, if there's any truth to the idea that the fate of the world hangs in the balance here, which seems to be attested to by the fact that somebody went to a lot of trouble to steal the tablet, right?
And then find us for thinking that we stole it.
Right. Then I want to find my brother, but I also want my brother to have a world to live in that exists, right? I think what I find really frustrating here is that there seems to be some grand threat to the world, but nobody wants to actually deal with us in a way that could enlist our help to counteract it, right? So, I'm willing to give the order one more shot at actually dealing with us straight and giving us something to do and some recompense for it. And if not, then we're heading to to that, whatever that place is nearby, heading east, and we're going after Karl. And that's the end of the story from my point of view.
I think one does not imply that the other option is no longer available.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
True.
I almost,
True.
I almost think, since there seems to be some connection to, I don't know if this is Fairfowl or me, but that there's obviously some connection between the shattering and the tablet, and Jarl was all wrapped up in that we get what we can from these losers to get to Xavier, but we go get Karl first and bring
right.
him along with us, because
Sure. Okay, I like that idea. The only question is the timeline,
Right.
is there, but that's why I tend to think talking to Xavier earlier rather than later, if we can ever get over the hurdle in this weird continent where everybody knows nothing and doesn't want to cooperate.
Bureaucracy.
But yet there's something very urgent going on.
Yeah.
Then Xavier would be the last chance for that. So if we could actually have a conversation with Xavier where we would feel safe within the next 24, 48 hours, then I'd want to do that before heading east. That would be my idea, and then we'd know more.
okay.
Yeah. So the things we want to know are like, how far away is he?
How do they contact him? When were
Yeah.
they supposed to speak to him again? You know, can they get a message to him? Basically, we've got information they need. We're leaving unless they come to us. You know, Xavier himself comes to us ready to deal. You know, at a place that we feel safe.
All right.
I think we're not
Comfortable with the
safe here
plan.
anymore.
What was that, Haya? Sorry.
I think we're not safe here.
Here in this continent, on this continent, or in
No,
this
no,
shack?
in this shack.
Okay. Is it
They
because of the
know this
chimney?
place. Haha. Uh, let's say that we are going to meet them elsewhere.
We just go in and we find out. I mean, if this person will speak plainly, how they contact Xavier, where is Xavier now, when were they supposed to meet with him again, and that's pretty much it. And maybe we leave these guys here, and until Xavier deals with us, our leverage is both these guys and the information on the tablet that we have.
Okay, sounds good.
Do it. Comfortable with this plan, Fairfowl will put out his thinking cigar.
All right, so let's walk back in, and all right, Jacob.
Just hear Luvier saying, "Really, you can't hold a tune?" It's like try to show him how to sing a little better.
No, he kind of goes like, with the stutter, it is hard.
Oh, okay, I can understand.
So
Sorry.
I've kept Haya from killing you for at least a few more minutes, but he's still considering it very, very strongly. So here's the answer. The answers I'm looking for. 3 questions. How do you contact Xavier? Where is he now? And when were you supposed to meet with him again?
Well, we were supposed to report in tomorrow. But
Where would that be?
I can't say.
What?
It is against the orders rules to specify the location of order headquarters.
Break the rules, or we break your legs.
Then you're going to have to break my legs.
Haya. This is very out
DM.
of character for Fairfowl.
Yes.
We were okay. How long has it been since the witch cart?
The witch cart?
Mm-hmm.
Which cart? The witch cart.
Probably
The witch cart? Yeah, the witch cart.
6-8 hours, maybe.
Okay, just checking.
So we could just send them back and follow them. Is that what you're thinking, or no?
I can't make another psionic. I can't just charge another marble whenever. It's 24 hours, which is why I was asking. Otherwise, I just slip it in his pocket while he's shaking right now and let him go.
But I mean, like, if presumably they're going back to that location to meet with Xavier, and they met with him, they've been following us since the witch cart less than 8 hours ago, then we could just let them go and follow them for the next 8 hours. Boom, we got Xavier. Maybe. Buddy?
No, it's not a bad idea. It's just that I don't. I'm standing right behind him, and I'm not sure if we're over table or whether we're talking over table or not. So I don't want to say anything.
Oh, so I get it.
Yeah, I wasn't signaling it to anybody. I was just asking the DM because I needed to know if I could just do
if
this.
you could do the gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm all caught up. What was question three?
Ah. All right. If one of them is what himself, I'm going to drag him away from Balgare over behind a tree,
Okay.
and I'm going to stand him up and lean my quarterstaff against his neck, and I'm going to say, "So where were you going to be meeting Xavier?" And I'm going to make a persuasion check
Okay.
against him. Is there any way Balgare can help me with this? I'm going to spend a commanding presence die as well. A maneuver die on that.
I can try. I can roll a another check, or I can attempt charm person again, maybe. But might be overkill. I might just be able.
Let me try this first. Let me try this first. Maybe there's not really a way to get advantage, but I'm just going to try with my persuasion. And ooh,
Can you get an inspiration off of that recap?
Yeah, he
Ooh,
did.
did I get my inspiration?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I'll spend that. That's good. Okay, so 17 plus 4 plus my maneuver die. 29.
Nice. That's good.
So 17 plus 4 plus 8.
And he'll still say, "I can't tell you."
Yeah, right.
He he's trembling, and he's just like, well, we were gonna meet him tomorrow, and your quarterstaff's really scary, but believe me when I say that if I told you how you if I told you the death I would receive is worse than the death that you can give me now.
Balgir can say, "You think we're gonna just kill you? This thing's worse than death."
Well, I don't think crossing the order would
Why don't we
be
all
any
go
better.
Why don't we all go together tomorrow? What happens if you miss the meeting? Do you have to go? We could all just go together. Why not? One friendly group.
Well, I don't think it would. We can't bring anyone to the meeting location. That is not part of the order. It's not possible.
So if you don't get to make this meeting location for long enough, they'll probably come looking for you, I suppose.
Maybe.
Mhm.
It
Maybe
really
Xavier
depends on if
himself
they
will
care.
come look, checking on you, right? Think that maybe the one little breadcrumb possible for him to continue to sort of save the world is lost with his 3 idiot underlings, right? Don't you think that he would try and go after them to find out what happened? I would think so.
Well, I mean, I don't. I mean, you've met Xavier. I don't think he would. He'd probably
He
just.
just drop it. He just consider that you all lost
Oh,
assets, right?
he'd probably just send another group,
Rather
like
than
us,
himself.
rather than himself.
So we have to wait until the Thanos moment, basically, when he says, "Fine, I'll do it myself." Okay, I get it.
Believe me.
Say,
What does he have on these guys that they're like? I don't get it. Why are they so?
I mean,
Never mind.
maybe it's not
Think-
Xavier. Maybe it's just the order in general.
muttering to myself.
Maybe there's some oath they took that was magical, right? I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Is there an oath breaker spell?
Dispel magic or something would probably work, right?
Yeah, if you were sure
we
that
don't have a
they.
spellcaster.
We have a half caster, but not like a full caster.
And you've got the weird psionic.
You have 2 half casters.
1.5.
That even.
Which
Druid's
accounts
a full
for-
caster.
Oh yeah, Bulgaria is a full caster.
Oh yeah.
Right?
So you have to take Dispel now.
Yeah.
No, the druid stuff is already like decided. You don't choose which spells you get.
Well, he does it every
Yeah.
night. He can pick differently from the list.
Yeah, he prepares.
If the list offers the dispel magic.
Right. That's a different question. I don't know the druid list
I-
well enough. I know it's OP. But
It does. It does. It does, but we have to level up first.
Right.
Well,
What do you-
so
What shall we do? Leave them all tied up?
yeah, I think leave them all tied up outside or inside actually,
Inside, maybe. Yeah.
so we can lock the doors on them.
We could lift the planks out of the cabin, because I was doing that earlier looking for that bottle of whiskey, which I found, by the way. And we could, there's a wee crawl space under the flare. We could lay them in there like matchsticks and put the floorboards back on top of them.
I'll find a
Or-
rock to sit on top.
Aye.
And I'm gonna go out and start looking for a good sized boulder.
And you could nail it in and everything too. You could, nail the floorboards down.
Oh yeah, and Balger will look right in the eyes of one of them us. He says it quite cheerfully. Oh yeah, we can make it so that nobody would even know they're ever in there.
I love it.
How does-
This is probably not a good idea, but we could leave the sending stone in the shack with them so that when the bad guy decides to activate, I mean, we'd be giving up something we don't want to give up, but he'd appear back with them.
We don't know who the bad guy is though.
No.
And if that doesn't happen, and let's say Xavier does actually come down, then Xavier's just gonna think we stole
Yeah.
the tablet and never let go. Yeah.
True.
So once we settle them in the shack, I will propose something.
We didn't even search them.
So
Aye, I mean, we could put them under the flare. I don't need to kill them. Again, looking at the prisoners, not you guys. Don't need to kill them. Don't need to slit their throats or peel off their skin or anything. But just tie them up and put them under the flare. And if we ever need them again, we can come back. I mean, if they're still alive, But who knows? But we'll know where they are. That's the most important thing.
And
Fair.
Blood knows their names.
yeah, I do know.
that.
That's a big deal. That's right. Well, we could
Um,
also, everybody, we could just say goodbye to them and say, here's the message for Xavier. You can go and meet with them, whatever. But Xavier has to come to us himself when he's ready to deal. And that's it.
Actually, I'm just gonna lean in on the guy that I'm holding. I'm just gonna go. So your boss's full name?
All I know of him is well, technically, Xavier is he's kind of like gesturing. He's kind of like a level my boss and then Xavier a boss. And I don't know what if Xavier's last name or first name or middle name or christened name. So I don't know his real name.
You don't know his real name.
He's middle management.
Darn! I was hoping I could just kill him right now.
These powerful,
So-
powerful casters hide
Um,
their names behind mystique.
Okay,
So
I just
no bully
I
either.
just had an idea I really, really like, which is, Verfa, can you just like make a blinking message on their chests, on the front of their shirts or something, so that it's like Xavier, you go to them yourself to deal, and that's it. They've got to walk around with this thing flashing on them all the way until they walk into the meeting with Xavier, right? I actually like that idea a lot.
I could do that, except I don't know if skin counts as a tiny construct.
No,
'Cause
but
clothing-
like something
Or is
on
it-
their clothes, or like we could tie a collar to them, or something, but something they don't want to leave behind. If they have spell books, or or just their clothes themselves, right? We could strip them of but one piece of clothing, and it just blinks that message.
Can we start searching their bodies, essentially, see what they
Yes.
have on them?
Let's do that first, because then maybe there's something we can use.
I don't know what you would like us to do as a group to roll that, or if we would just do it.
What are you
So,
trying? So you're just trying
probably-
to. What are you trying to do?
Probably
Sorry?
Jarl would have given this idea to Verfa, and he likes it. So he'll search first and see if there's something on them.
Okay.
Right.
And
Um,
I'll go around and hold them to give to help action the search.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
this
Give
be-
me investigation.
Investigation.
Yeah. I don't.
12,
The way that
4,
Savage World details investigation versus notice is investigation is like papers, whereas notice is everything else. So I'm like, is it investigation? But that's just me bleeding the two systems together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Investigation's fine.
Oh yeah, investigation works just fine.
What is that? 12 and 4, 16.
16.
Did you take that advantage from help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're kind of you're just looking through all of them, I presume, like you're just, patting them down sort of thing. Okay, so patting down, one, gets you some, a purse with some copper and silver in it from 1, 2, and 3 also have, purses of, some copper, some silver, no gold. Um, 3 seems like he has, maybe a small journal that has some drawn maps in it that just like of the city, and maybe looks like it might be drawing the places where you've been. It also seems like it has some observations. It's like, oh, they went and looked at a witch. We're gonna follow them back to cabin. Sort of like just taking like small
Drawing the
jots.
places where he's been.
No, where you guys have been.
I see.
But nothing. It's not like a personal journal. It seems like a notes, or like a, oh, I need to go get Master Wufong some components. I went over here. It was this much. Here's the receipt. Just kind of mundane journaling, but nothing that would say where. Oh, there's a bunch of notes that I've missed for the stream. Oops. Here, let me get that upstream. There we go. So and then when you look at number 2 and looking through his belongings, you do find some spell components, specifically like the spell components for Fireball. I think Fireball has some spell, whatever. Just some physical components, mundane components really, but they're used for some combat spells. So he has things to defend himself. It looks like he also has. Oh my goodness. Yeah, what they have is locations where you've been in like the last day, like hey, we got the prince. After Prince was turned, they went to the library, then things happened to the library, and then we followed them. So like your locations throughout like the last 24 hours, it looks like, and mostly the people who were still at the castle and went to the witch. But yeah. Tiny bit, yeah. So you see like Bakwano and Sulfur. I thought Fireball had physical components, but yeah. So you kind of find that he has spell components on him, so he's definitely a wizard. So you definitely read him right that he was a little bit more dangerous than 1. 1, Jacob doesn't have much on him besides a few gold coins, maybe a few scraps and pieces of paper and a rag, but like nothing else.
They don't have any rings or symbols of the order or anything like that on their person?
They have on their person, they have this black octagon sewn onto their patch, like on like here
Patch.
or like on a shoulder, kind of just wherever. It seems like it's a personal choice where they put it. It's like somewhat prominent, but since it's just a black octagon on like brown wool, you have to look for it, sort of thing. But as you're looking, you're like, oh, okay, so here's a patch of a black octagon. But yeah.
Since we didn't find anything, I would like to use, for number 1 here, I would like to use one more psionic ability called View Aura.
Oh, gosh.
There is no like save on this. This is just something that occurs if I spend the points for it.
Okay.
And with View Aura, I am able to concentrate on a single person and tell their current hit point total, their basic emotional state, and most importantly, if they're under any magical or psionic effects.
Okay.
And what those effects are.
So you do that, you get the mood ring of this. You do on Jacob or
on Jacob? Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if somebody is scrying. Like like you can cut all the rest. I don't really care what his hit point total is. I don't really care what his emotional state is. I'm happy to get them. But what I care about is if somebody is scrying through him.
Oh, okay.
Or if he's bound by any magical oaths or anything else like that.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, magical.
There's no real that no one's scrying through him, and no one is like there's not a magical oath that you can see. And then he's very distraught for his mood.
Okay, I'll just tell this to Jarl and Haya, and I'll say, he's not currently enchanted by anything unless it is vastly beyond my level of understanding when it comes to magic. Because,
So-
the DM can always just decide, yeah, but you're not good enough to see that.
So in keeping with Jarl's plan, I'm going to propose that Jarl, because he's got maybe the most authoritative voice, record a 6-second message onto one of Jacob's back molars.
Okay.
Because whenever tapped by a creature, the object emits a recorded message that can be heard up to 10 feet away. And so he will be, every time he puts a piece of food in his mouth, maybe if he closes his mouth too tightly, it will just blast this message for 10 feet in either direction. And so when he goes to tell Xavier, whatever's going on, that's what will come out instead.
Is this the origin of the myth that tooth fillings can pick up radio frequencies?
It is now. So,
man.
Jarl, you can decide what the 6-second message should be. But
Xavier, come to us yourself and humbly when you're ready to deal.
All right.
That's my magical tinkering. And in order to make this happen, maybe it is sort of a, because the artificer's magical effects are, mechanical and whatever. So it is probably like the tooth filling. I'll take a little piece of, metal and a drill from my smith's tools or whatever. I think there's
or
or
God,
Mason's
that's
tools.
horrible.
Mason's tools, and we'll drill a little hole in the tooth, and maybe Jarl's holding him back and saying this while we're recording the message.
Oh
and-
God.
Oh
I'm getting visions from Marathon Man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Lawrence
I've been
Beaver.
watching Criminal Minds. Can you tell?
There you go.
Alrighty.
Gruesome, but I love it.
Gruesome.
Right, well, we should hit the hay if we're gonna get away tomorrow.
Yep.
Gotta get away east.
Are you
Yep.
sending the guys away today, or are you gonna send them away tomorrow morning?
Blindfold them, send them away
Bef-
some random point A.
Before this happens, Matthew offered something brilliant about table. Why don't we just put one of the guys aside and I replace them? Like, I become Jacob. I say they're going to join us for the road to the headquarters. We're just going to take them, and that's it.
So
One of
Is
the other
this-
ones, not Jacob. Jacob's the one with the tooth.
how are we communicating this right now? Yeah, that's my.
This has all got to be away from them, this kind of idea. I would think
So,
Kyle obviously take
for a
us
while,
your shot.
For a while ago, I said, let's put them into the shack and we go somewhere.
Right. Okay.
But
So
you
they're
were
all in
doing
the shack
some
and we're talking.
investigation and stuff, so like.
Well, what do we think of that
Jacob-
idea?
It's my thought is you need to bring them to 3 separate locations and say we're going to do one more quote round of interrogation. Then we can either off one of
Right.
them or we can tie them
Back
up
in.
and then
Mhm.
get rid of the body and then you go in and do that. But like if we don't have them at 3 different locations, they're going to notice that something's wrong.
And
Aye. And is their headquarters to the east? That's the other thing.
it's got to be
don't
somewhere
know.
within a day's, trip, right? Even overnight, right? They're supposed to be tomorrow. What time is it right now, DM?
It's probably about 3 a.m. in the morning.
Wow. So sometime this day or the day after they were supposed to meet him.
Hmm. You kind of presume that he's talking because it's like dead of night, so he's talking the
The coming day.
the coming day. Yes, the coming day.
Wow. So the Savior must be actually pretty close. Which suggests to me that maybe we don't need to worry so much about whether this would take us away from our planned course of travel, right? So we could separate them all from each other. We could do a last round of interrogations, and then when tie up the other guy, gag him or whatever. When Haya comes back, he just seems woozy and affected by it. Maybe he's Richard or Robert, whichever one wasn't the caster.
Yeah.
So they couldn't make him prove who he was or whatever. And he's just sort of a little out of it until they get back with Xavier, as if Xavier needs to cure him or something.
What we could all do is be like, oh, we take them all and we bring them back together, take the real guy and beat him up really bad, or whatever, and then just throw our fake guy into the mix, to explain his goofiness.
I'll give. I really think maybe killing him is the best move here. And if Balgear, I've heard some wizards can cause huge areas to fall completely silent. And if that would be a thing that you are capable of doing, I think I might be capable of taking down even that brute in a single hit during these kinds of non-combat circumstances anyway.
Tis not a spell that I can.
I just worry
like the
about
idea
him
of killing
screaming.
anybody we don't have to.
I like the idea of tying them up underneath the floorboards. That was something I could get behind.
If you guys think you can do this without killing him, that's fine. But I honestly think the best option is to kill one of them.
I think I like this. Tie them up, put them under the floorboards. We separate them basically. Tie them up, put them under the floorboards. They hear a lot of beating and a rough treatment of that guy, and then Haya comes out, but he's actually in the appearance of that guy. And meanwhile, we've done the thing with Jacob, so they think that that's all we're doing is the broadcast thing from his tooth, right? But Haya's with them all along. I like the idea. And if Haya can communicate telepathically with Lud so that we know where they are, or we just follow them.
That would kind of require us to be within 120 feet with them at any given point in time. I'm not sure how viable.
All right, so we
just
have to follow them.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, I can't make another one of those marbles until like 6 p.m. tonight. Otherwise, I just put one on Haya, and then I don't even have to worry about them discovering it because.
Well, what we could do is if that's the case, you could give me that wee marble. I could turn into a bird and keep it in my mouth, and then fly over them.
I think you don't even need the marble for that. Just if you can turn into a bird, I think tracking them as a bird in the sky is the right solution.
He doesn't have enough levels to have a flying.
Well, follow them as an animal then. In any case, I think is maybe a good idea, right?
Like a snake.
The snake.
Anything
But
fast
here's
enough.
the problem. What if they ask what happened to me, Haya?
You're just woozy. You basically don't really remember much. You're sort of.
You could say that the crazy wizard used some name magic on you to erase your memories, and one of them at least will buy that.
Right, and that they made you drink something and you don't feel well. Basically, just brain fog. Basically, the whole 9 yards, right?
So, if I am Jacob, and if I am the leader, and if I tell that it's okay for you to come with us, why don't you just come with us?
So
I don't know that I understand the question. We were going to have you be either Robert or Richard, whichever is not a caster. I can't remember which.
If you go as Jacob, you won't be able to figure out where their base is unless we kill Jacob and then you have to feign that you don't remember where the base is, which seems unlikely to me.
Like
I
I
think-
would want you to be whoever is the lowest guy on the totem pole of these three. That's who I'd want you to
Okay.
duplicate, right? So that you're just
Right.
tagging along, and maybe weak-minded and was overborne by whatever we made you drink or whatever name magic we used, and
Taken by some beguiler. A class I wish existed in this edition.
what do you think, Ati?
So I'm usually not a big fan of separating the party,
Mm.
especially like 1, 2, 4.
Mhm.
And
I'm perfectly happy not doing the extra bit. If we just do the message on the patch, I'm
Yeah.
happy with that, especially if we have, we try to follow them, but have Belger, or we could just go on our way and trust that Xavier will show up if this tablet is important enough to him. I'm happy to switch back to that original plan. It's simpler, and we can get on the road.
yeah. I think that's better. Like there was some like
There's less risk.
there's less risk. Yeah.
What does everybody think of that?
I no bothered by it. It's fine. Easier.
It feels more
Yep.
secure to me if we had a guy on the inside, but I'm not going to be the one to tell somebody else to risk death like that.
Well, if our objective is to get the message to Xavier, the rest of it's all gravy,
That's right.
as long as we got the tooth.
All right, so back to that original plan, and then what I would say is we don't. I wouldn't want them leaving until we're also leaving,
Okay.
basically. So we take a short rest, maybe, and then we send them on our way, and we go on our way.
All right.
And every time Jacob taps his teeth, he hears Jarl's voice.
All right. Until someone dispels it. Ah.
Sure.
Okay.
Like their wizard. Oh, that could be problematic.
So you guys are not
But they'll
doing
still
the
know what the
changeling
message
thing,
is.
right? You're not doing
We
changeling
will
stuff.
tell them in the morning.
You're just gonna have the message sent. Okay.
I think a head would accompany the message very well, but I've been warned not to do so, so I'm not gonna bring it up again.
I know Karl would like methods that were direct. Let's put it that way. I never sat right with me. I kind of hoped that you and I would go a different path, but I can't deny they're effective.
I'm a raging barbarian, y'all. I need
told you,
to.
you don't have to get angry to be great.
I have to feed my soul.
Okay, so then we head off. We're heading east.
Okay. And it
Did we
is
rest?
only a short rest because I don't think you got a cumulative of 8 hours. The whole kit and caboodle in the middle of the night kind of disrupted that long
Yep.
rest.
So just a short rest.
Yeah, I didn't use anything anyway.
Yeah. I just
And I
in
get my
case
maneuvers
for
back on a short, so that's okay.
like psionics and
Yeah, I don't get my
things.
stuff back, I don't believe. So
We'll need
I'm
to
gonna
look for an
be-
opportunity, Lud.
big, not useful for a little bit there. I have enough PP to like defend myself. I try to keep a certain amount in my back pocket, but like, the thing about the limiting thing with Mystic is how many points can I use and how many points do I have? And it's like 17 max right now, which is, I think it's equivalent to sorcery points at this level, actually. But I don't know.
probably. Alrighty.
Belger, how you faring on short sleep there? Not getting all your Z's.
Aye, well, you didn't have a hangover to stay drunk. A wee bit of the hair off the dog's back. That's what we need. Long journey
Cheers
ahead.
to that. I'll get out my flask. Let's each have a morning pull here and get on the road.
I stagger forth. Gentlemen. And
Right. We head east.
Alrighty.
Oh,
You head.
that's
I
why I want.
imagine we
Sorry.
give them a message and a location of meeting, right?
No. If Xavier's so clever, we're going to be on about our business. We've got what he wants. If he's so clever, he can come to us. But
Yep.
Okay. Alright, okay, good.
Let me move you down.
I realized it was because I have my hit points. I'm like, why do I want a long rest or whatever? But it was to switch my infusions.
Now
right.
everyone can see the great party icon I've made for you all.
And Verifa, you had told me some cool things about what you might be able to do with one of my hammers too. I'd be excited about that.
Oh, is the flag of the veil our party icon? Amazing.
That's your party icon. That's your
What?
I figured it would work well with the 3 out of 5 people who like to drink in the party. So
Excellent.
Alrighty. So you are heading
east.
Oh, okay. So the path out of town, you go past the Misty Dew, and then going further along, the road actually leads along the coastline. And mostly because looking south from the Misty Dew, you see the pathways that you came up, as well as you know that there are some major trade routes going kind of south to maybe to the Grand Duchy. And then the middle interior area, so let me just draw a shape, and maybe you can see this shape while I'm drawing it. So like this middle interior area, like this whole spot, is kind of just left to be wilderness. It kind of got reclaimed by monstrosities and giant birds and rodents of unusual sizes, so they kind of just have been
Giant
left alone.
birds! Oh, we're not going there. Not for any money.
They're more scared of you than you are of them. Ken.
I don't know. I don't trust it. Give me a purple worm any day.
Would it be more what am I trying to say? Would it be better to take the ocean, the sea, the waterway around? If we could find a ship.
Yeah, what are our options, DM, and what do we think about the various
So
speeds that are possible here?
you can take a ship to go across. Oh, yeah, you need to head out. Oh wait, Eric Croc. Maybe. I don't know. Ren, to your question, I do not know. But so you can go maybe by ship. There's not a lot of trade routes that actually go from Gila to the Principality. Most people just take the coast roads. They're a little bit out of the way, but the coastlines of Treshire are these impressive, very tall cliffs that ships are known to crash into. So it's kind of unsafe to go by sea around the top of the northern area, especially since you go further north into the sea area away from the coast. You get into like glaciers and such in the north. But going the land route across the coast, most people say is pretty easy. There's cliffs up from the sea, and then there's a kind of a plateau, and then there's some more hillier cliff regions, and then it kind of levels out into the rest of the plains of Treshire into like the southern areas are mostly plains. Whereas the interior is kind of foresty, mountainous, hilly sort of areas or rocky areas.
Ooh.
So a lot of people
like the sound of that.
A lot of people just take the coastal roads.
Livier's gonna put his hand on Balgir's shoulder and point over at Jarl and Haya and go, back before I met you guys, I ran into 1 or 2 human-sized birds. They're pretty nifty fellows. Yeah, like yay tall, and speaking common and flying all over the place. Unruly folk, but nifty.
You can communicate with them.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I just think they'd be speaking a bunch of gibberish.
So, probably don't want to go around it. We could go over it. But I think if Jarl gets his way, We
No,
could go under
didn't
it.
say it. Aye,
That's an option, maybe.
maybe.
Do we know of
Too
any
tall.
tunnels?
Not that you're aware of. The area is like there's big enough plateaus between cliffs and mountains, and there's valleys and such, that there's not a lot of, oh, we need to make we need to make these tunnels. There's not a lot of like requirements for it. So a lot of it is just either overland or in valleys. They might clear off and cut paths, swaths through forests.
Okay.
But yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Fairfa's thinking is head overland, and then, you know, if given an opportunity to go under, we should. Not only because Jarl's much more comfortable given the absence of birds, but because, you know, if the objective is to find Karl, if he moved, you know, towards the capital or whatever, he would have taken an opportunity to go underground too, right?
I didn't trust it. No offense, haven't known you that long, you know, and you meet a couple of dwarfs in a city, and then you go traveling with them, and before you know it, they want to go underground, and before you know it, you're in a prison camp 20 years.
Belgier, do you really think that a bunch of dwarves can stop you from turning into a rat and escaping their prison camp?
And anyway, we haven't done that for centuries.
They've got their ways. They got their ways.
That's like saying a bunch of dwarves could kill me. It ain't gonna happen.
Well, you know, it's
Confident.
like they put these magic users in the camp, and they put bits of. They can't cast anything. They impoverished them, so their mana's kaput, and they're just. I'm not saying that it's you personally, but dwarves I've heard do stuff like that.
Not in my lifetime.
I really don't know why you're so worried.
Aye, mysterious backstory.
Also, what makes them think? What makes you think they were going to want to capture you in particular?
I'm just saying, you know,
If these dwarves
we
wanted to
didn't have to
capture
go
somebody,
underground. I would rather not go underground.
if these some people wanted to capture somebody of importance and take them underground to some gulag, why wouldn't they have just taken the prince? You're not a prince, are you, Bulgar? You're hiding that from me?
Look, no, if I was a prince, you know, I mean, even if I was a prince, there's so many claims to the throne of my people that we'll never get through it. We'll never get through it.
All I'm saying is you don't need to worry about going underground so badly. It's not a big deal. There's still animals underground.
Princes tend to make poor workers,
Do they?
I'm told.
Oh.
But I'm scared of going underground.
Well, we start over land. We see how you feel.
So he's a prince and a pauper. A prince of people and a pauper of good labor
pauper.
practices.
Well, we don't at this point anyway have to, you know, have any way of getting underground, even if we were to want to. So I think Verif is right. We just let's make our way along and find out what we find out. Ati, it was great to play with you today.
It's great to play with you.
Bye, Ati.
Thank you. Use Haya as you wish. Just don't kill him yet. Or find a cure, like vivify him or something if you kill him. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks, if not earlier.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
You then, Ati.
Right.
I like imagining you, you know,
Bye.
stalking around that shack,
Yeah.
Yep.
threatening those guys. That's really fun.
Yep.
Alrighty. So you are going along the coast. I'm going to move you to the mood board for the coast.
Ooh.
Right.
And it
Is this a good point for a bio break?
Yes. And I think, did you have to leave, Ren?
Yes, I need to head out at 3:15 so I can bike down to my job.
Okay.
Mm.
So
Should we our summer work schedule starting to settle in? Should we think about whether we can maybe adjust our time a little bit to help things like that? Like we could make it, I could do 12 to 3 instead of 1 to 4, for example.
I don't know what it's going to be like for other people, but the two like gigs I'm doing are very spur of the moment. So it really like no time is going to be any better than any other time for me on
Okay.
Friday, on Thursday
All right,
or
no
Friday.
worries.
Okay.
In fact, moving the day at all is probably going to make things worse. They tend to like me more closer to the weekend than during the week.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I think this is a good spot to kind of start. We can kind of do like the discussion of theory stuff. We could do like
Wrap it up
move
and shift to the reflections. Yeah.
Yeah. But you can see where you are kind of, you're walking along the coasts, nice pictures of Cornwall, some pictures. Yeah, so you're on cliffs, walking cliffside. There's some cliffs next to you though as well. So there you go. Rocks. Indeed. I didn't use the cliffs of Mohair because I felt like they were too easy of a grab. So, but yeah.
I like this. It reminds me of the cliffs you see in Anne with an E, if anybody's watched that on Netflix. Kind of similar.
Oh, I have not watched it.
That would be New Brunswick, I think, where they are. Or no, Prince Edward Island, one of the Maritimes, as the Canadians
One of the
say.
Maritimes. All right. So we'll let Ren head off, take a little bio break, and then we can come back and do our little wrap up reflection thing.
Alrighty, sounds good.
All right, be
BRB.
right back.
See you guys next week or week after next.
Week after
2
next.
weeks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yep. See you in a couple, Ren.
see you a little bit. Alrighty. We should have be right back. We don't. That's fine.
I've returned.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Oh, hello.
Hail.
Hello.
I've just gone for a get out of the Balgare spirit, you know.
What Richard Schechner would call the cool down.
Do a lot of staring at a wall, walking around.
This is
There's a paper, I can't remember who it's by, but my friend sent it to me called Le Rouge et le Noir. And it's a French anthropology piece, but it's in a sort of, because when Turner and Schechner came together, they held, I've got the book here actually, I was just looking at it today. From Ritual to Theatre.
Mm-hmm.
I love this chapter where they do a performance workshop with a group of NYU graduates, and they take some of Turner's meticulous documentations of rituals, which are, redressive. To him, they have a redressive function to bring two groups back together and ensure social reproduction. And so they just sort of they go through it, and everybody, of course, they go through the motions. They all stand in a circle. Instead of some sort of ritual object, they use like a broom, right, and put it between the gaps in the floorboard. And I remember, I can't find a page. I'm not gonna be able to find a page, but it was like everybody. It was a ritual which was for a girl when her mother dies, I think, and she takes on the name, I think, of that person. And so they chose somebody, and I can't remember if it was just circumstance or not, that she had recently lost an aunt, and so made that ritual about that, But when you mentioned so Le Rouge et le Noir is a sort of build on that, where he takes a seminar class of anthropology students, and he'll have them do a ritual, and it's sort of specific. So he'll break them into boys and girls, and he'll have the boys outside of the room with the door kind of open, just ajar. And then in the room, there'll be like long tables. And at the far end, there'll be all the girls sitting. And on the other end, the one closest to the door, the boy sits, and the teacher sits with I think the boy sits with his back to the girls, maybe. And the teacher sits in front of him. And the point is that everybody's just far enough away that they can't really hear what the others are saying. So the boys outside of the door are just far enough away that they can sort of hear what the teacher's saying to the boy. And the boy's just far enough away that he can't really hear what the girls are, because they were just told to sort of sit around and talk, And so every boy's coming in and sort of looking at the girls, trying to put together what's going on. The girls are baffled because the boys look so surprised. And the boys out in the hall are getting this build up of suspense the longer that they're in it, And then he says they don't have the cool down immediately, but rather they go away for the week and try and work out what a ritual is, and then they come back together the next week to try and see what everybody's come up with. And it was interesting. I can't recall the author, however, but
And that's the thing that he does, like with a seminar class.
yeah. So I guess from the teaching, for pedagogical point of view, you've got that sort of like way that you can use, a group of people, organize them in a way that kind of like I remember a seminar where a guy was talking about den building in the woods. When you get pieces of sticks and you put them together, you find the natural cleavages, the way they fit well and stuff. So he brought in a big bag of all different bits of sticks he'd found from the woods. And then whilst he was doing the seminar and giving the paper, our task was to try and combine the sticks in a way that made up a den to try and basically build the den whilst he was talking about play and affordance and all of this kind of thing.
I like it. Theater really lends itself to that kind of thing. Like, if every instructor just had one class in theater, school would be. Stanislavski's magic if goes a long way.
I never
Right?
had
Because I mean, that's what you're. I mean, especially the practical skills, but really anything that you're learning in school. Part of the purpose is to like be able to translate that into other situations, right? So, and the magic if is like you ask yourself, you develop your character to the degree that you can answer what if questions. So, what if I'm playing the hero of the story. What if the villain's nephew walked in, right? How would I interact with that person, right? So, I'm learning about, the way that, an exhaust functions on a car. So what if a car started making this noise? What would I do? Where would I look? What would I...
Right, I see, yeah.
Really does, like, it kind of lends yourself to improvising or troubleshooting in the moment, being like, okay, well, like I feel like when you guys were gonna do like the changeling or try to thing, I'm thinking like, okay, so what if they do a changeling? Well, these three guys know each other, and if you had done Richard, eventually they'd be like, hey, Richard, can you pull out your journal and tell us, give us a good report? And you'd be like, okay, and can you write some notes about this thing? And be like, okay, well, they recognize the fact that a changeling can't replicate handwriting. So it's like, okay, well, how would he replicate handwriting? And then like you go into the what if, like, well, okay, what if he did the wizard? Well, the wizard was actually probably the best idea because he doesn't really interact with the group as much in a way. And so I like walking through that troubleshooting, like what happens if you do these things and that kind of stuff. So we didn't get there, but if it had happened, I had a plan.
Yeah, what's nice about that is that, like, there's a decision point there that creates the branch, but you only have to build the branch that we climb on, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to, you just have to have the, the start of the other two.
There's a paper by Joseph Dummett at UC Davis, and he called Game Design as STS Research. And he makes that argument, that what he does is he has a class of students, again, another example where it's also pedagogical, design a game where the player is a corporation, and their job is to extract as many resources and make as much money before the world ends, And so in order to then develop that into a sort of mechanical board game-like agency, you then need to articulate the world that the corporation exists within, And it's quite interesting because the students, become aware of the fact that the corporation's world is one built of a different agency than the one that we live in, where they see science, for example, as a way to produce knowledge that's friendly to the capital pursuits of the corporation or whatever, and that function of all of these things. So, but he also talks there about this kind of thing you're talking about, which is sort of like that what if, that being able to have that very complex knowledge of a system and see it as it moves, like Lords of Waterdeep is a great game for that, or Risk or whatever. When you scan across the table, right, you're able to do all of these what ifs instantly, because of the way that it's presented to you, and the way that you can easily build that into a complex series of a horizon, a near horizon.
It turns out Stanislavski was talking about games the whole time, not theater.
Yeah, if you just joined us, we're talking.
Sorry, I'm late, everybody. I was held up.
But yeah, it's when you guys were talking about, I like how you guys have automatically assumed that the order is called is bad at this point, because I'm just like, well, I mean, like, oh, these people are stupid. I'm like, well, he's not stupid. He's just kind of like a low-level grunt that doesn't know anything because he's, he has a mission and he does the mission and then he leaves. Like, it's pretty much bureaucracy.
But yeah, it almost, what it reminds me of, Morgan, a little bit, all these shows, both Umbrella Academy and now the new Loki show, they've got this bureaucracy somewhere which can jump around time, and both shows are exploring, at least in part, it's not the main thing, the way that it is bureaucratic, and they're like underlings who are, clueless or not clueless or whatever, but everything we associate with bureaucracies is part of that. And at the same time, of course, every single one of them, every little mission through time to do one thing or another is incredibly high stakes, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a gigantic amount at stake. So I guess, in that sense, the way the Order is appearing to us sounds kind of like maybe Umbrella Academy more than Loki. Like, it's not really clear why these people would be put in charge of something quite that important. I can't remember the name of that duo of assassins, but whereas what's that?
I'd just say taking them as, well, stooges, or grunts.
Right.
I think there's two main things here. Either somebody's intentionally filling the ranks of this organization, which is piled together to defend existential sort of order or whatever. So somebody's intentionally filling those ranks with stooges so that they fail, or the true power brokers who could inflate it with all of the best people and stuff, and not intentionally, but have their resources and attention elsewhere, so that But then, though that sort of conflicts with it being an order of maintaining existential worldwide order and stuff.
But you
Because
can
what
start.
that,
Yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying. You could start to imagine that maybe Xavier is a smart guy who understands that there is a real threat going on around here, but everywhere else in the Order, all the other major divisions of the Order are like, oh no, there you are going on about that again. There's nothing there, So the only people he can get are these stooges, right? So that that could be one explanation why we get what we get, is that Xavier, he's on to something, but like he can't get even elsewhere in the Order, he can't get the hierarchy to back him up. That would make sense, and that would be a bit more.
And you don't really know the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Luke.
Oh, I was going to say, or that like the ostensible purpose of the Order has nothing to do with this tablet, right? And so the people that are the higher in position, so Xavier and higher, are dealing with this tablet debacle, right? And in order to sort of maintain the structure of the Order, they have to keep these people busy. The pencil pushers pushing pencils, that they're just sending them off on these little tasks just to keep them out of their own way, because they are essentially incompetent, right? And so for them to help with like the real problems going on would hinder them.
Yeah.
Right.
And one of the things is, you guys don't know your characters don't know the exact reason why the Order exists. I mean, Jacob was like, well, we are here to store knowledge. So if you go based on that, you're like, oh, these guys might just be a bunch of like scribes lorded over by a bunch of really high powerful wizards. Like, it might be that they are just people, pencil pushers, file pushers, that are like, hey, go hunt down these group of adventurers that might have stolen our tablet. It's like, oh, we're not equipped
Which
for
again
that. We're not equipped.
Raises the question of, how is this a functioning Order if that's how they've been doing business, for hundreds, presumably, years, and on high stakes things? How would they possibly have arrived at this as their mode of operation, where scribes who are terrible in the field are trying to do field operations?
Maybe it's like it could be like a Stalinist post-purge situation,
right?
Where
Couldn't be that.
Such post-shattering, there were such divisive power grabs that there just had to be a purge of all the best, most aspiring members of the Order, and what's left are newbies or inconsequential.
Right.
Yeah.
And it may speak to, what it turns out is like the very nature of magic in, the DM's world here, right? Where like, they can't get anybody that's too powerful, because when you reach a certain point, everything unravels, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need people to engage with this tablet magic that can't actually do anything with it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and that's kind of
Or,
a
go
good.
ahead.
We had a kind of a good point because in one of my worlds that I've built, I love messing with the far plane. I don't know. I've just have a fascination with messing with the far plane. But one of the things is like the far plane kind of in my brain in this world, the far plane like eats things. Like there's kind of the Galactus of planes. Like it just kind of slurps planes into itself because it wants magic. Um, and like to prevent that, one of the planes had this catastrophe where they got rid of all of their magic that is plane based. So any druids or sorcerers or like dragons don't work on this plane. But like clerics do because that's from a different plane. But any magic from this plane doesn't work. So if they and then they start to mess that up because people start making magical items and start drawing out the magic of themselves in a concrete way that attracts the far plane. And that's like the whole story hook is like, hey, the far plane's invading because people are making all these magic items. Like, maybe don't do that. So,
Yeah, so it could be that there's a corrupt entity at the heart of the order who is diffusing from all the people around him or her power, centralizing it into themselves, so that everybody
Which,
around them.
yeah, absolutely, and I think too of ways that could connect with the recent development of artificers in this world and their relationship to magic. Is it harder for the order to get anyone of talent right now because a different way of approaching and handling magic is on the ascendancy, and theirs is actually on
Oh yeah.
the
Mhm.
descent. So that in that vacuum, you'd expect something like Matthew just described to be a very likely outcome, which is that as the resources are drying up within the order, you may have people concentrating their power and other people
Mhm.
finding that they have very little to work with.
Yeah. And you also have the idea that, like, at this point, no one really knows what's happened with the shattering. No one really has, like, there's been research over, the last 2 decades, but no one really knows what has happened. And so, like, a lot of the questioning of, okay, was it mages? Was it artificers? Did we do something? Was it just gods? Like, did we piss them off? Should we wear all these woolen clothes because we're making them angry? Like, there's a lot of these questions, and I feel like, you know, that is also brings into question, like, are these wizards, are they purposely like constricting themselves magically to prevent things from going on?
It's interesting because I've been playing over the summer. I've been playing the Stalker game series,
Okay.
which is Ukrainian about Chernobyl and based off of the movie by Tchaikovsky, and it's all based around the Chernobyl event,
Mm-hmm.
and the creation of a zone which emits radiation and is semi-sentient and transforms um, the area around it. And then, but because of the unique nature of this event, right, it changes everything for the perception, the boundary of humanity, for the finitude of the earth itself, if this is a destructive process or whatever. People don't know about what this zone could be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's similar there, that sort of theme.
Yeah.
It's also a game constructed of different factions who all have a relationship to what they think this event might mean, and what therefore the best way for them to respond to it. And so that's how the game's sort of structured.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I struggled making Verfa to start with because like as an artificer, you need to have like your explanation of like what magic is, right? And so, in Verfa's mind, the way magic works is to sort of be like the old phone operator and plug in the right ends, to
Mm-hmm.
connect the different networks, right? So
Yeah.
there's like the mycelial network, and there's the way that trees talk to each other, and there's physical properties of rocks, which is what he's most interested in. There's
Yeah.
social networks among people. There's all these things, and you're trying to find the keys and the pieces that fit together to get to draw the route from what is happening to what you want to happen, right?
Mhm.
And that is sort of it's a sort of mechanical version of that, right? That the objects that he's making are networked, right?
Mhm.
I'm a little disappointed that they got rid of the archivist subclass for, but because it's sort of like that, right?
Yeah.
But and at first I'm like, I don't want to do that if that's not how you're thinking of magic working. But at the same time, what does it matter if that's the way
Mhm.
that Verfa thinks it works? Then
Yeah.
everything is sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy that, like, oh yeah, if I plug these two things together, it's going to do this thing. I do
Mhm.
it and it does it.
Yeah.
So he thinks that that's still how it's working, even if it's not,
Oh yeah. Well,
right?
it's like I I was watching something about lanterns, and they were like the old way that people thought about combustion was that certain materials had this thing. I don't remember what it's called. Was it called like
Phlogiston.
yeah, phlogistons, and then it burned, and the reason why it went out is because the air took on too much phlogiston, and so it couldn't take any more, and so the fire went out. And that's, reverse that, and that's actually how combustion works. So it worked, like, no matter how you actually know how combustion worked, the way that they had figured out, they could work with that. So it's kind of interesting. It's like, what does it matter if you kind of know how magic works? Like, you think you know a way magic works, and if it works, it works. Like, you don't question it. It's like, well, that's how I think it works. Do you have a better idea? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've always had a hard time with like my brain with magic. I always think of like it in grades. Like, you have like low end magic and then really high magic. And when someone goes, they're like, "Oh, I'm going to do this Arcana check." I'm like, this item is very magical, or this item is very not magical." And they're like, "Well, what does that mean?" I'm like, "I don't know. Like, this is a cleansing stone, and this is a +5 fire sword. Like, one is more magical than the other, even though they probably like." In reality, they probably would just give off the same sort of signature of "this is magic," instead of
Mhm.
giving a grade. But that's how I interpret it.
Speaking of magic items, and this is not related to our story, it's just a selfish question because I've conned my wife into rolling up a character, and we're going to try to play with some of her work friends. But
Okay.
so when it comes to crafting items, like how do you all address that as DMs? Do you let that happen, or do you just say no, you got to get your gold, and we're going to use the Xanathar's guide for downtime?
I don't know what.
So, what kids are like just in general to
So
craft?
in her case, she wants to be able to make potions, and in my head, like, yeah, okay, I can come up. You say you want to make this kind of potion. I
Mhm.
can come up with 3 ingredients. One of them is really easy to find. One of them is really hard to find, and one of them you might even have on your pocket now, right? But
Totally.
do you but I mean, the guides that I've seen are like, it's like, oh, it's going to take a week and 500 gold pieces, and it's like, okay, but how does that translate into anything, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel
I.
like they need something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah.
But.
Well, I had a character who wanted to make potions, and I did something in a spreadsheet, but you could do it with cards or playing cards or whatever. I took the Skyrim from the Skyrim wiki. I took the ingredients potions tables, and then I reorganized the data so that you had one sheet that would give you a random list of 10 ingredients or whatever number, so that every day that you're playing you can say, okay, you find these random ingredients. And then you can have some kind of and then the second one was a system to know, of course, what potions that those make. And then I could do that so that, effectively, to answer your question, they would find random ingredients every day from foraging, and then over time they would be able to make combinations. Also, by in the Skyrim system, tasting ingredients is important. So,
Yeah.
I'm able to do that kind of thing. But it was sort of like you say, it's something to do. So it's a cumulative thing. So every day I would be like, here's your ingredients, and then they would take it and look at all their other ingredients and see what combinations they could make and things. And that was a kind of a cerebral kind of, you know.
Right. I think there's a way in which the crafting in D&D throughout for many of its editions has been a kind of quick and dirty solution, and it's following a couple of principles from game design, which is either time and dedicated time, which means the cost is essentially you don't get to do it while you're playing with the other character. You've got to find downtime, or money, right? Or both, right? And to me, that's the quick and dirty way it's handled. Whereas I think I like what Matthew's saying, and I have a PDF that I often like to use when I'm DMing, and some of you may know about it too. It's about harvesting creatures. It's got a lot of great tables for what you can harvest from creature components. I think that's it right there. Yeah. So one of the things is that your party can learn pretty quickly with a little bit of suggestions that there's some available chance for them, if they can do things successfully, to get items that make certain kinds of crafting possible. So now the cost is not simply just brute kind of downtime and gold, but it's also the skill of retrieval, the skill of being able to use your survival or whatever else it is, and then to figure it out. But the other thing that I like to do is to say, if you're not going to be dedicating downtime and gold to something, then after a long rest, because it's got to be at the beginning of your resource day, right? After a long rest, you can spend some kind of resource. Like if you're a spellcaster, you can spend, a spell slot or something like that, depending on the level, depending upon how powerful, in order to save a day's worth of time in making X, right? So now your characters are presented with a more interesting tactical choice. Do I want to go through the rest of this adventuring day down, ticking down my resources in order to take a step toward getting that item or not? So I think those are ways, from my point of view, that make it more that there's more to do, and it's more of an interesting tactical choice.
Yeah, and definitely if they know that, like we had a DM who would use there's a stream who would use a creature components and such to, we basically had a monster of the week sort of thing where he'd be like, hey, there's this monster, go and do the monster hunter thing of like surveilling the area, finding out what their lair, go killing it, and then after a few sessions and we killed the big creature, we would take that and be able to, we would roll what we could harvest, and then we'd use that for magic items. So it was kind of like a reward system for that kind of thing. So it was very much like Monster Hunter. But if I had a player, my last campaign, I had someone who was like being somewhat possessed, but wasn't really. He was a Warforged that was reverting to his pre-Warforged programming. And they're like, how do we stop that? Well, we need like a ring of mind sealing that's slightly altered. And then they're like, well, can we craft that? And I had one of my characters was had alchemy tools, and I'm like, and so I was like, okay, well, now I have to do research. And I looked around and tried to figure things out, and I was like, okay, well, I'll put together like the components you need, and then you'll be spending time to change it and fix it and try to get that sort of together. And it was kind of neat because it gave them a lot more like like an extra thing on the side that they need to go get. And I think if I had the way that I run things is kind of somewhat linear. Of like, hey, like for me in my brain, you go A, B, C, D, and then eventually you get to like F, and the campaign's over. Um, but if you do it where you're more open about it and say, okay, well, what do you want to do? And they go, oh, well, I really would like to make this potion. It's like, okay, well, here are the components of the potion. And they go, okay, well, I'm going to go search for, maybe they need a hill giant toe or something. I don't know. So they go, well, I'm going to go find some hill giants. And you're like, okay, you're going to go find some hills. And then you get a lot more of that world exploration, I think. It gives them something to do in downtime as well as like make your own adventure sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that's a DM style.
Yeah, it's interesting because she's like, well, yeah, I want to make potions, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you could. As I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, I'm probably going to have an NPC where they can buy potions to begin with, and it's going to start with like, oh yeah, I can make you this potion for X amount of gold, but I need this root. Go, find one. And then, but then once you know that this requires root, why not just go out and get it yourself and make it yourself? So having a system for doing that, I think is my next step.
And the other thing I would add to that is that I think it's easy for us, me as a DM anyway, to fall into the trap of how can I make this possible for this individual player? Like suddenly this is something they're doing on their own. They're going out, they're getting this. Whereas I think it's more interesting to be like, all right, well, once we know that, it's such and such a gland from the, blink dog. But this alchemist has no ability to gather that gland without probably destroying. Do you have a ranger in the party? Do you have somebody with survival skills who can try and make use of that, right? So then you really get party members working together, and I think it's a nice opportunity for that as well.
Yeah. It kind of allows synergy and such. Yeah. So, but of course, like I do think that it's lacking in 5e, that they don't have even like suggestions in like the Dungeon Master Guide. Be like, hey, like you could be doing this. The 5e leaves a lot of that up to you going on Reddit and saying, hey, I want to make magic items. What should I do? Or relying on like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think Xanathar is, was a big step in the right direction to sort of actually elaborate tool proficiencies like they did. But I think it was a missed opportunity in the sense that really have followed through on that with suggestions for DMs and connecting it to things like this. So they don't necessarily have to build out all of the creature components or whatever for you in that volume, but they could have done a lot more to help DMs, say, oh, I see it. I could treat it modularly like this, and and then I'll just come up with the stuff myself.
Yeah. I just think it's interesting. Like
led that they didn't.
Yeah, like it's just interesting to be like, I was looking in the, because I'm like, oh, in Xanathar it's downtime, crafting, whatever. So I went and I looked in the DMG, and it's like, in downtime activities, okay, here we are. And it's like building a stronghold. You know what I mean? It's like, this is, of all the things that you can do in any of the, the things like this, right? Like potions seem so much more like, I mean, yeah, there's players that are going to want to make their own sword, and they're going to whatever, but potions just seem so easy, just like mash these things, especially if they're like the really low, like heal 1 hit point or something. Like, yeah, you can go mash some things together, mix it with some alcohol and drink it, right? Like, why not?
It's like Breath of the Wild, where you just dump the ingredients.
The caveat is always, like if you think about a witch's cottage, she's got so many utensils. It's like in a kitchen. When you don't have any of the utensils like spatulas or tongs or whatever, cooking well gets really difficult, and it's the same with making potions. The alchemist and the potion maker rely upon their setup, so it might be a thing that I've always sometimes linked potion making to individuals who have that equipment, because they
and proficiency, right? Or, I mean, I could imagine that there's, because there's like the cook's utensils or whatever. There's alchemy supplies. There's brewer's supplies. Like those should have a place, right? So maybe there's some potions that you need, that you make like a biscuit, right? You need the cook stuff, and there's some that are like classic sort of potions that you need the alchemy supplies, and some of them are, just a ale of whatever, and you do need a place that you can set it off to the side and let it ferment for 3 weeks and hope nobody tampers with it, and then you need your brewer's proficiency, right?
That's really, it's hard for me. It's hard for like crafting. Like I had one of my players in my last campaign she's like, oh, I'm an alchemist, so I was trained to like help make potions as well as being a wizard, and there was had a hard time incorporating that, because it's not really built well into the game, and that kind of goes back to what 5th edition and D&D as a whole is generally built around combat. So you don't get a lot of the built-out systems of crafting or things to do in your downtime or any of like the real nice, fluffy world-building guff that players who
Yeah.
like role-playing want to do. And I have a hard time because I'm like, I would love to throw encounters after encounters, but I also want you to role-play because I want you to tell a story for
Mhm.
yourselves. And that gets to that problem of, well, the system isn't really built out outside of combat, so when people are leveling, they don't want to they don't want to role play as they level up because they want to use their fun skills they get as they level up, but you don't get non-combat skills leveling up. You just get combat
Yeah.
skills.
I
Yeah.
mean, D&D's definitely always been a combat-driven game,
Oh yeah. Yeah,
but
yeah,
at the
yeah.
same time, it's always been an additive game where, in first edition, Gygax wanted you to use some other game to do wilderness travel.
Mhm.
And so, even then, and it's always been sort of seen as, well, these are the rules to do the remit of this game, but anything that comes up, I mean, like overland travel or whatever, his recourse would be, the dungeon master can find other systems, that work in, I guess, a semi-modular way, moving between different scales,
Mhm.
or of adventuring,
Yeah.
and you can sort of combine them. So one thing I've heard people use a lot is the Quiet Year, which is a RPG module for building a community after a collapse of civilization. But what it does is it provides those tasks that you can do to
Mhm.
build up a community, a place, or have those sorts of
Yeah.
social mechanic, And so it's sort of like DMs fit, like Thomas was saying, with, I guess what a player wants to do and how you can node it out to the group and make it something they all come around. But at the same time, then having the not the rules, I don't want to say the rules, but the game, right? I think something I've been
Right.
thinking about, then to
Well,
have there.
yeah, I often think that D&D has been defined by, several different axes of tension, and one is the individual versus the group. Another is contest versus cooperation, right?
Uh-huh.
And another is system, that is sort of rationalization in the Weberian sense versus, situational adjustment, right? So in the early days of D&D, as Patterson talks about, for Gygax, it's all about system and rationalization. The bizarre collection of things you get in the AD&D DM's guide is the random set of stuff that he worked up because his party said, we want to do X.
Yeah.
We want to lay siege to a fortress. Okay, let me roll up some tables, work up some tables for that. That's that rationalization impulse to do that, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's always in tension with the kind of narrative, tell a story, find things together in a very kind of contingent way, in the emergent, in the moment rather than planned for, I'll get back to you next week and I'll have that all worked up, right? Just kind of theatrically improvise through it, right? Which is much more Dave Arneson's way of DMing, right? So you really have that in it, and I feel like these things they're not reducible to each other. That's part of what makes it so interesting. The kind of colonialist wanting to make everything a contest and make everything about conquering, is in tension with the kind of cooperation and exploration and relationship building. But that's not the same thing as the individual, not the same thing as the others, I guess is my only point.
Yeah.
Right. But
I,
what makes them all up as points in these tensions is that they're all irreducible to one another in
Yes,
terms of
right,
what makes these at all.
mhm.
right.
And I think that's kind of what I think a lot of game systems encounter that same tension, and even if you build it, oh, that was Eli. So like 5e and Pathfinder are similar in that they have systems built up for combat, but I think Pathfinder has built out things for role playing a little bit more, whereas in the game that I play on Fridays with my father we play Savage Worlds, which is kind of one of those systems where the DM goes, okay, what do you want to do? and you go, well, I would like to go over to that wall, climb up, do a little cool backflip to impress, I don't know, a girl. And he goes, okay, well, I'll need an athletics check and then do a spirit roll so if you don't get scared of heights or something like that. Like, you tell the DM what you want to do. He goes, okay, roll me these things. And the character sheets are a little bit more simpler, and it works a little bit different, but it's very much a fitting the system to what you want to do. It's kind of looser in that way, so it allows for a lot more weird, fun narrative role playing in pieces, and be like, hey, I would like to convince this person to come with me, and like, I'm going to say X, Y, and Z, and then just roll it up, sort of thing. And but their combat system is kind of lacking. So they're like, we would like you to role play more, and if you have to shoot someone, you have to shoot someone, but role play through it, I guess. And it's kind of, it's that balancing act. I was going to say something else. Oh, and Savage World is built for multiple settings. So you get the Savage World book, and then you can make a bunch of different worlds, or they sell certain settings. Be like, hey, you can do, like, here's the sci-fi setting, and here is a Deadlands. I think is the most popular one, which is Wild West meets zombies. I think that makes sense with the title. And so, like, they have all these supplements that you do in the Savage World system, or you can just go make your own world with the Savage World system. So it's kind of interesting. It's meant to be very open, but you have to have a good DM for it to work, I guess.
So the short answer is build your own system.
Build your own system. Yeah.
Well, no, because that's what you're doing, right? You're like a painter. You don't do this you always have a blank canvas, right? So you can't just reproduce some system exactly, or you can't just do something within a school. You've got to you put together the kinds of the thing that's sort of like a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and the more that you try it out, the more it becomes a distinct kind of thing, So if you want, it's up to you how you do the potions, mainly based upon, think about how much time do you want it to take up, right, in a given session. Frequently you want it to happen, and then just go from there.
My gut instinct was like, they're starting at second level.
Okay.
So like, just, I mean, have, whenever she wants to, whatever ingredients she has, say 2 or 3 of them, put them together, and I'll roll on a random table to figure out what the effect is. And over time, we can build up, like, oh, every time we use whatever wort, it comes out, there's something about fire. So,
yeah,
okay, sure, it looks like whatever wort, and then at higher levels, you get
that's a really
fiery or fire.
That's kind of a really good way of showcasing, like, the experimentation of real alchemy. Is like, I put this in the thing and it did that. Okay, let me write that down. And then it falls. You don't have to write it down. You just let the player write it down. And if they forget, well, they forgot. Here's another random effect.
Right. And I love random effects. I think that they are a collective experience that is very engaging, right? Just like wild magic sorcerers, and the new wild magic barbarian. So another way to think about the trade-off of resources is you could take this amount of time and you could spend this much gold and you'd get very reliable results, right? If you want to shorten it up, then some of those random, side effects, a side effects table, you get, you know that these 3 get you X, but if you want to make it in 6 hours instead of 24, or 24 instead of 48, yay, there's going to be a D6 roll, and 1, 2 is fine, but 3, 4, 5, and 6 are each pretty bizarre,
You could also
you
have
turn blue and your face goes numb.
You could also have it where you,
or little boils all over your body, painful boils for the next 24 hours.
I did this thing with my cooking. So I have a person who's raised as a cook, but like, their parent is a cook, but they were raised to be a super weapon, pretty much, sort of thing. So they really like cooking, and so every time, like, oh, I'm gonna make croissants for people, I'm like, okay, well, roll me a d20, I'll tell you how good your croissants are. And I think that's how Casey did it when Eric had a painter centaur, and he's like, okay, how long do you want to take to paint something? He's like, oh, well, I'm gonna take like 2 hours to paint a landscape. And he's like, okay, well, roll me, give me a roll with your proficiency bonus, and I'll tell you how good that painting is. And so you can kind of do it that way. And if they roll terribly, then you can be like, well, here's the pot was too hot, so you get a little bit too spicy of an effect, or the effect isn't quite as much as you want. You go all sorts of fun ways with that.
Yeah, I like that too. Like where we're talking about, like Matthew was saying that like tasting ingredients would be a big thing. Like it could be that you taste, and then Thomas was saying like it helps you sort of rely on your party, right? So like oh, I'm gonna take just the quickest little taste of this berry, and you just roll really badly and you keel over, right? Like you better have somebody there that can heal you. I mean,
the cleric rolls his eyes like, oh no.
Well, you remember
again.
when Balger and Jarl had that really interesting interaction over the mushrooms, right?
Oh, of
Where they're
course, yeah.
each coming at it from a completely different point of view, right? It was hilarious, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll let you all know how it goes.
Yeah,
I put that Excel file into the chat there. You can have a look at.
Yeah, I opened that already. That's pretty cool. I gotta say that's pretty impressive.
It fulfills those. It does those shortcuts for me. That's the whole point. It's
I liked it. I like it. That's cool.
It's one of like with the additive stuff. My since playing other systems always seeps into. I don't have like this categorical memory, so when I'm like trying to recall 5e rules, I might actually recall like Savage Worlds rules or like 4th edition rules when I'm trying to think of 5th edition rules. And so a lot of the way that I DM D&D, or like when I'm trying to plan for things, I make my own homebrew as I go. Like my crit rules, I know my crit rules are like slightly different than like rules as written, and there's certain other things that I homebrew. But it's like you always have that seepage and the adage of other games that you've played coming into D&D, to the point where if you have someone new coming in, they're like, you're not playing D&D correctly. Like, oh, well, not rules as written. That's what I'll say, not correctly. The rules as written.
other games, and also like just the way D&D is in your head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like how you've played it in the past, like
or how it should be.
Yeah, I played a lot of Shadowrun, but when I first was playing Shadowrun, we did not play it correctly because the DM like sped read the rule book, and there's one thing you can't do about Shadowrun is speed read the rule book and work. So a lot of the things that we were doing were just kind of like assumed that that's how they worked, and then later on we were like, oh wait, that's not how it works at all. And so when I go into a different group who knows what they're doing, I'm like, well, my previous group did this, but it's very wrong, and I know it's wrong. So how do you actually play Shadowrun? So, yeah, it colors my view of Shadowrun is just how.
Someday, if I had much more unlimited time, I would love to DM an Earth Dawn campaign. I just have always wanted to play that system, and I've never played it. I've only ever read it, and I just think it's such a cool set of ideas.
Yeah.
I played Shadowrun a fair bit, but Earth Dawn really captured my imagination. I thought, does it still have players? Do you know, Morgan? Does anyone still play Earth Dawn?
It's one of those like, it's kind of like advanced D&D, where there's people who are really nostalgic for it, and so they'll get together and be like, oh, we're gonna play advanced D&D, or we're gonna play old Shadowrun or old Earth Dawn to get that experience. But it's not something where like people are recruiting for Earth Dawn or stuff.
I can understand that.
I want to try. I want to try Doom not Doom, Dread, with the Jenga tiles, the Jenga board. Not board. What do you call it? Tower.
Jenga tower.
Where instead of rolling dice, you pull a Jenga tile and then you stick. What do you call it? Block.
Block.
Yeah.
And then it determines whether you survive, basically.
It's kind of like the deck. It's kind of like the deck of many things, and it also raises the stake a lot because you're like constantly pulling out blocks, and you might want to be like a little strategic, like, oh, I'm gonna leave this really easy move for the next party member because I know what he's doing. I'm gonna take this more riskier move.
And people use those Jenga towers like that, not just for that one game called Dread, because I've heard about it being used for D&D and other things too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that it ports over just fine.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll use that for my potions, right?
Right.
The tower. if the tower falls over, I mean, your luck runs out and it blows up in your face. But until
Yeah, I
then,
mean, it's almost like a more interesting version of inspiration as a mechanic, right? So inspiration as a mechanic is a kind of encounter spanning, even multiple days spanning little thing. But you could have a tower, at a table nearby if you're gaming face to face. And for a whole bunch of different things, not all the time, not every role, but for certain kinds of roles, a certain kind of moments. Well, you really want to do that extraordinary thing? Why don't you go pull a block and we'll see if you get to make that check, that kind of stuff. That I think would be really fun because it gets very visceral when you've got that tower and you're watching somebody look and try and find something to, that'd be really fun.
yeah,
We should experiment with that in the collab, I think.
yeah.
It's interesting that question of porting, like you called it. Like I've just recently done something with Yahtzee, which is kind of similar, where you take it and you cloak it in. For me, the travel game with the Yahtzee is a way to get that done. You can sort of play with the mechanic because you know that it works, right? Because when you play
Exactly.
Yahtzee normally, and
Right.
people are like Yahtzee, everybody's cheering. For some reason, my family were nuts about it.
Right.
Absolutely. And
Right.
it's like it works, so you can put it into a fantasy sort of
Right.
context.
Or even something as simple as, say you have like a hexed item or something and it's sort of traveling around. There's that game that my family likes for whatever reason. It's called Left, Right, and Center, where you have you all start with 3 chips and it's
Oh.
literally one. Maybe it's 2 dice and they're marked left, right, and center, and you literally just that you could just run it as like a statistical experiment and know who the winner is at the whatever. But you roll the dice and you either pass them to the left, pass one to the left, one to the right, or one into the pot, and then whoever has one left at the end has to roll, and if they get that, there's also a dot on it that's safe, right? And then you win the pot, right? Like you could do, I mean, any of those sort of simple, or even
Yeah.
cards,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can also do like this is kind of more just adding tactical features into a game. Like if you're doing a bar or like there's a fight, there's something where you're like, oh, I want to gamble with this person. Like maybe you're Bill and Ted and you're playing chess with the devil. Who knows? You can like be like, okay, well, I just happen to have like if you want to play bar dice, let's play bar dice at the table. Let's pause for a few minutes, play bar dice, and then see who wins.
And I think very quickly what we're noticing too with the different examples that we're mentioning is, when there are games that are deeply known by a group, that widens the pool of things that will work. Like I think Jenga is very broadly applicable. You don't really have, there's not rules to explain. It's not like you got to sit everybody down for 10 minutes, So I think Jenga has an immediacy to the involvement of it, and to it's self-evident in its materiality, says what it is, and it gives results. Whereas all these others, I think they work if the group you've got already plays left, right, and center, or already plays Yahtzee, or already plays, then they have a lot more, they're more available,
I'm just thinking of my family playing euchre during D&D and it made me laugh.
Right. I mean, anybody can gaze right at a Jenga tower and also gauge its instabilities, inherent material
It's one of the
instability.
beauty things about it as a game. I mean, it really is there's a primal kind of quality to it, we always hesitate to say these things, but a kind of a universally human, quality to.
We play. So one of our favorite games actually is how about here? I actually hold on. Take my headphones out so I can grab it.
I think it's because the Jenga tower has a life to it,
So
which you can get if you're playing with like
a
a
Hava
snake.
game. Yeah, it's animal upon animal. It's basically Jenga in reverse. So you all get a set of a toucan, a snake, a lizard, a sheep, a penguin, a hedgehog, and a monkey, because why not? And then you roll a die, and it tells you if you have to stack it on there's an alligator to start. He's your base. And then it tells you if you have to stack on the alligator, if you have to put 2 of your animals on the stack, 1, or if you get to give 1 to another person to stack on the stack. And this is like our go-to like dexterity game. But I can imagine something like that too would be
Yeah, right. That
'Cause
would be pretty
especially if
straightforward.
you keep the die, because then you can, pass the buck when, you have to do the precarious thing.
Yeah.
I like that one too because you could imagine a way in which the DM is controlling, like a tough in a bar, and you've challenged him to some kind of contest of some sort, right? Or some way in which the whole party, I'm not immediately kind of coming up with the right kind of narrative context, but where the whole party gets to participate in rolling the dice and doing their stack against the one thing that the DM is doing, right? And then it really gets everybody involved, but yet the mechanics work because you're just playing one player's part on one side and the DM's playing the other. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, and it comes, it helps maybe dissolve a little bit of that, like the action economy, right? Where, yeah, we're taking on this guy in the bar, but there's 6 of us. Of course. I mean, it's just a matter of time. How much of that do we want to really play through, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gives it some teeth or some
And the
weight.
time horizon of these different options is important too. I mean, Jenga has a relatively long time horizon. You have quite a number of moves before something dramatic happens, where I'm guessing with this game it's quite short by comparison.
Yeah.
And that's important. I chose Yahtzee because rolling a hand at Yahtzee is enough of a thing that could maybe capture a day of travel if nothing else is happening, right?
Right.
And the idea is that once you work out how much fatigue you get from actually traveling, any extra you can afford to spend, you can spend in Yahtzee rolls, where one roll is one fatigue, quite simply.
Well,
So
can I ask you, Matthew? I really like this idea because Yahtzee is one of my very favorite games. I have my travel version right over there. Because actually, something, tell me if you do this, because this would be really cool, right? Like, so when you roll your 5 dice in Yahtzee, you're presented with a set of outcomes, and you have to quickly make a decision. What am I going to go for in my next 2 rolls? Do I want to try and go for a full house, a straight, whatever it is, right? So I could imagine a party, right, where they're traveling, right, and they're in the hands of one of the members, and the member has to do these Yahtzee rolls to do something, right? But they have to choose. Am I going to try and go for 3 of a kind? What am I going to try and do here? Here are the different success points, and the other party members are yelling at them like, "No, don't try and go for the inside straight. What are you doing?" Like I would imagine that way in which there's a kind of the path you choose. You have an opportunity to choose different paths based on what you even start with. I really like that for that.
I mean, yeah,
Right.
that's the I tried to capture that. If you'll allow me, indulge me.
Yeah, please.
I've tried to capture that with this scorecard here. So I mean, I sort of I don't know if in American bars you have like bandit machines, which are kind of
Yeah.
like
Slot machines. Yeah.
yeah, something like that, and everything sort of lights up, so you know
Yeah.
where to draw your drunken attention to and that kind of thing.
This
Um,
is fantastic. Can you send me this? I want to use this in my next. I'm DMing this Saturday night, and I absolutely want to use this. This
all right.
is so cool.
So basically, yeah, you can hit reset, and if I need to give authorization to the app script, even though I made it, I'm not quite sure why. So you can hit reset, and that will give random numbers, and then with the roll one, that'll give a roll, and then you get fatigue, and then of course these buttons here lock in
Yeah.
what you're rolling.
Yeah.
So then you can hit roll again, and when you get a hand down here, it'll light up what you get. And then what I've done is I've tried to come up with a system where the various hands, give
Your 3
mechanical
ones is the
narrative.
minimum, right? Yeah. I get you right from Yahtzee, right? So you're always trying to. The default, for that part of the board is always you got to get 3 of a kind, right? So if you don't manage to get your 12, if you're going for 4s, then X happens. That's very clever.
This is making me want to now port yet another game. So this D&D campaign is just going to be us playing other games and role playing in between.
This will be fun.
But so there's this sort of cult game called Cosmic Wimpout. Have you ever played this? It's got this.
No.
It has these custom dice. It's a Kaplow game, so it's like it's just dice. and it has all these like really obscure rules. That's
I
I think
remember
what
the
makes it
name.
cult.
I've heard it before.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
I've probably talked about it, but the thing that's weird about it is like it's a push your luck game, but it sometimes forces you to push your luck. So like if you roll three sixes, it's 60 points. But you have to roll again and score either a 5 or a 10, which are like ones and something. Um to, in order to keep those 60 points. So I could see that being like, you have the option to Matthew, you don't need to buy left, right, and center. You just play with regular dice.
Oh, sorry.
um,
Just
the
looking up all your references.
yeah, no, it's all right. The where like the players, any sort of push your luck game, the players have the option to take something bad, but maybe try for the alternative, which is good, or something worse.
Mhm.
Right? Oh man,
Mhm.
I can
So
see it.
putting players in those positions of agonizing choices, right?
Yes.
Trying to contrast the good of the group versus their own individual stuff, And that's been the challenge for me is exactly that fusion, right? Of course, where you have the Yahtzee that works, but then at the same time, the particular rewards or things, those are on me to sort of try and come up with. So I wouldn't say I'm quite there yet, but there's sort of like a combination of uh, building successes and you need to get this or else. So the top board of the Yahtzee is all you need to get this or else, So or else you'll have problems with food, water, navigation, disease. And then the bottom board, because it's all of these poker combinations and stuff, these should be sorts of like the positive building kinds of achievements. But it's hard, it's hard to come up with I was thinking of just changing the bottom ones to being just bonuses and miles, because at the end of the day, this game is triggered when people want to go from A to B. So when players go from A to B, they don't want to find out about C and D, because that's just going to mean they never get to B. So it's a funny game to try and think about, because when people travel, they don't want to go off course, but you kind of have to go off course as a dungeon master if you want to have a narratively entertaining kind of scene, So instead, this game is about the routine and about trying to get as many miles every day and as little fatigue, but then also, yeah, because the game ends when you stop traveling. You go back to normal D&D, right? So, because I didn't also want it to be fast travel, because then you sort of lose an element of something,
Yeah.
the passage
Absolutely,
of
you do. Yes, yes.
Existing games as mini games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I love it.
So I wrote in Discord chat. I really think we should, I mean, obviously, one thing, Morgan, if you want to start to do some of that in this campaign, that's up to you. Be great. Although it's fine. I wouldn't want to push you to do that.
I will think
But
about it in the systems
yeah,
of Roll20.
I mean, again, you shouldn't feel like you should feel any obligation to do that. But in any case, I think just a single episode, of something for us, like I don't know whether we put it under existing show or what, but just somebody runs a one shot and we just try a bunch of this stuff out. We see how many we can cram into one session, right? If the DM takes it on and everybody takes charge of having one game that they've got a system cooked up for, that could be really fun.
It could be, yeah. It's like a fun thing.
I'm going to volunteer Matthew for that, since he has the Yahtzee.
Well, ideally in that situation, I would be merely a showrunner, passing on the gauntlet between the different people. So
We could have like I could imagine like if this is like say a 4-hour thing, like a 4-hour one shot that's common, and you could have like 4 45-minute vignettes with at least like 15 minutes between them, and so there's like a kind of like a transition of like 15 minutes of like role playing and figuring out how to to get rid of the current DM, get him involved in the player, and then the person who's going to be the next DM to get out. So like a 15-minute like transitional period of role playing.
And honestly, the overall event could be like the worst case of a campaign on rails that we've ever seen, because
Yeah.
all we really care about are those 40-minute.
Right.
Yeah, but
Right.
as
It
long
could
as
be
there's
completely
like,
contrived, you know. You could even do one of those things where you're imagining it in the, in the everyone's been transported to the whatever realm of the
it's
game, the sort of game master type. I mean, you could even do something
It's
like
The
that.
Gamesters
Or-
of Triskelion.
Yeah.
it's a bar crawl.
Yeah.
Or bar. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're like, you have to get from, I don't know, the downtowner all the way up to Quincy's. Good luck. And you're
Yeah.
gonna hit like 4 different bars. You might get into a bar fight. I don't know. Like, you're going.
In every bar, there's something that happens, and you need to be able to do X in order to get out, get what you need, and get out.
And like one of the
Yes.
vignettes is at least like the Yahtzee traveling of like, okay, the branching of what bar do you actually end up in? What bar-
Every time, yeah. I mean, you wouldn't. It probably would be too slow if we did it every time. But every time you go from bar to bar, you've got to do the Yahtzee thing. I mean, that would be kind of fun.
Or like once or
Oh.
twice. Maybe we could do like once to like show
Yeah,
how we could.
probably just once, just to demonstrate. Well, I'm going to have to ring off, everybody. This is super fun and a great discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Love it.
Ren and Nati missed a great discussion. so.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Have a great
See you in a
weekend,
couple
Yeah.
everyone.
Nice weekend. Yeah.
All right.
See you next time.
See you next time. Thank
Bye.
you, stream, for hopping in, sticking with us, and we will see you in 2 weeks. So not the 24th, but the 1st of July. So if you're sticking with us, thank you so much. If you're watching the VOD, I'm impressed that you got this far, and we'll see what's next in the city-state of Jamal.